It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, May the 1st. Good morning. Happy May Day. Happy Derby month as a Kentuckian. That's where my thoughts always go.
That's right. That's coming up.
The month of May is upon us. Baby, it's real. Spring has happening everywhere you look.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to look forward to this month. And then, of course, at the end of this month, then it's just full-on summer. All bets are off, and we're living the good life. It's heaven on earth right here in Minnesota.
The summer months. It's also May is that's when outdoor sex starts.
Is that when it starts?
If you travel down West River Parkway,
Was that an embarrassed laugh, Candace? Was that?
Almost every year I see someone out there on one of our parkways out on the lake having sex. I'm like, oh, it must be May. And by God, it's always like May single digits. So get out there and enjoy some outdoor sex.
What park and what road is that? And what time of day are we talking?
West River. It goes from downtown all the way into South Minneapolis.
Nice.
And I remember biking down that one. It was on May 1st years ago. And there they were, a couple of people right there along the side of the pathway just humping away.
Saturday, it's Nerd Day, May the 4th. Sunday, Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, that's right.
Saturday, of course, also Kentucky Derby Day. Boy, I got to tell you, I mentioned it last year, and now I'm in my second Derby weekend in Minnesota. I'm going to make the pledge that third Derby next year we got to be at the Derby.
Candace, write that down.
This show has to be at the Derby.
I will go just for the hat. I will get a big, fancy hat.
I'm just going to see what hat Candace cooks up.
Let me tell you, the Kentucky Derby is unlike anything else I've ever experienced, and it's great before you even enter the track because Central Avenue, the street that lines the track, you enter on Central Avenue, and it's just it turns into a pedestrian zone, and it's just every freak in the universe sets up a booth or a kiosk or a stand. You can buy live turtles. You can be saved by the grace of Jesus by a snake handler from Appalachia. You can buy a mason jar of white clear death. I mean, it's like there are stills and snakes and charmers and I mean it is like a circus sideshow from the 1800s for a mile.
We don't get
and
to
you're not
see
even
this.
In the track yet.
I didn't know this information until you brought it up to us from the Southeast, and I always thought because what you see on television, it's very dignified.
No.
It's very
no.
It's very
the dignity,
plantation, old plantation.
Yeah, it is the dignified folk along the track in the grandstand.
Yeah,
the infield is literally it's like Escape from New York, and New York City is the infield of that track. It is just a prison rules, mob rules. It's everything. It's the genteel and the absolute Lord of the Flies all commingling, which is perfect for this show.
It sounds kind of like the Sturgis of the Southeast. I really want to check it out. Really want to check it out.
You will see. It's great. You see the hats, the dresses, the suits, the seersucker, the whole thing on the grandstand, and you go in this tunnel and you pop up in the infield, and it truly is. You have just escaped any universe you've ever been familiar with. There's They have long lines of porta-johns, and there's the porta-john race. Every 2.5 minutes, someone hops up on and tries to run across the roof of all the porta-johns. It's usually rainy and muddy. That guy's drunk. Everyone throws beers at that person, and they just run. It's a game of Frogger. How long until the guy falls off the porta-johns, which are taller than you think when you're falling off of one. Nobody ever catches the runner. They always they bite it in the grass. You will see 6 dudes dressed as nuns. You will see, 3 people on each other's shoulders in a trench coat. It's like every weird trope any kid thinks would be funny. And on top of it, just copious amounts of acid and ecstasy and beer. It's truly, it's like a Grateful Dead concert mixed with horses. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It's the craziest thing ever.
I want to get down to Augusta and see the Masters sometime. Mardi Gras, you can have it. I think I get the gist of it. Burning Man, not interested. But now I've got to get to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's worth it. We've got plans to be made. But it is May. There's a bunch of other stuff going on. I mean, you've got the NBA and the NHL playoffs. Sorry, Wild, but the Wolves are looking great. You got you still have the Preakness this month. So 2 big horse races. French Open. You got the Indy 500.
Yeah,
baby. There's another Planet of the Apes movie. A lot going on. But my thoughts every May turn to one thing, at least a few times throughout the month, and that is inevitably the bees. It is time to discuss the bees, and we'll be discussing the bees in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, May the 1st. On the show today at 8:30, we're going to be talking with Nancy Grace, the original, the OG true crime maven, if you will. My God, she's still doing it. Nancy Grace still kicking up stones and turning over every rock to find out who's doing what to whom. That'll be a charged conversation, as I think most conversations with Nancy Grace are.
Oh yeah.
And then at 9:25, paranormal investigator Dave Schrader. That's going to be fascinating. He's got he's just trust me when I say, dude is knee deep in ghosts, UFOs, aliens, monsters, the whole thing.
Yeah, he always has something, and I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
But every time we get off an interview with Dave, I think Darkness Dave, I'm a little weirded out. Right, Candace?
Yeah.
You go, well, maybe.
Well, I believe.
I know you're a believer.
He brings receipts. That's what we're trying to say. Dave Schrader brings the receipts.
Yeah.
Speaking of a dark and weird thing happening, okay, so it's May. That's the time of year when our winged buddies, the bees, show up. In Charlotte, North Carolina, there's a 3-year-old girl named Sailor, S-A-Y, like Taylor, but with an S. Sailor Class.
All right.
And her parents showed her the movie recently, Monsters, Inc., and she loved it. And but then she's going to bed and she's a little worried about monsters.
Sure.
And they gave her a bottle. They gave her a little spray bottle full of water. They said, "This is monster spray. If there's anything in your closet, this will work." And she's 3. She bought it.
All right.
But then she got up the next day and said, "Hey, there is a monster in my closet. I can hear it." And they're like, "Okay, honey." This went on for weeks. She's like, there's something, and they'd look and they didn't see anything, never heard anything.
She doesn't get to watch any more kids' movies.
No. The Class family, the parents started spending a little more time because they're like, well, what 3-year-old doesn't get bored and move on to the next subject? You know, this is going on for literally weeks. Noticed, looks like near the attic and chimney on the outside of the house, there's a couple, 3, 4, 5, 100 bees. I wonder if that's what she's hearing. Called a pest control company. They go into their 3-year-old daughter's closet, into the wall in the closet. Beekeeper has a thermal scan, and he turns around and says, "I'm going to guesstimate there's 60,000 bees in your daughter's wall." 60,000 bees. Here's the mom, Mrs. Class.
Today is day 10 of all this bee stuff, and we are finally getting into my daughter's room. There are some bees on the ground. There's just bees everywhere. They're like little landmines because they can still sting you when dead. This is going to be a long process. She hasn't been able to use any of her toys or anything. We're going to have to open up the wall actually to get some of the electric repaired. And yes, I can still hear buzzing going on in the wall.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees!
That's right.
Name that movie, Candace.
The Wicker Man, I guess.
Did you say liquor?
Liquor Man.
No, the Liquor Man. We're happy to see him.
Nicky Cage going strong on the not the bees. 60,000 bees have been pulled. And here's the thing. Homeowners insurance doesn't cover anything pest related because they say it's preventable. All of these bees entered the house. They traced it to a coin-sized hole in the corner of an attic vent. That's where they entered the home from. And apparently we're building a hive for 8 months. 8 months. And this is not an empty home. This is obviously an occupied house. My bee situation in 1995 was we moved into our new home and it had been empty for 4 months. Like the guy moved out in January. We moved in first week of June. Yeah. And a quiet house for 4 months, that's going to attract some bees. A loud house with a family and movies and all that, it's unlikely. It's a little more, less likely. But yeah, 60,000 bees in the wall. They're looking at $20,000 in repairs. $20K in repairs. It's just that magical time of year.
Bust a little hole in the wall and throw one of those roach bombs in there or something, and not going to get the job. $20,000. Bastards.
We had bees in it wasn't in the attic. It was in a dropped ceiling, like in between the attic and the master bath, as we called it. The dude that showed up to take care of our bees literally had an aerosol can, and he sprayed it, and 10,000 bees immediately landed and died within an hour.
Well,
and I asked him
can't
what was
do
in
that anymore.
No way. I said, dude, what's in that can? He goes, you can't. I said, can I go to the Home Depot and get that? He goes, no, you can't. This is not you can't find this.
Something's cooking up at home.
I said, how many EPA violations are we looking at? And he just was like, nah, man, don't worry about it. You're never going to there'll never be another bee in this house. And I was like,
can we breathe? Are we going to get cancer in 10 years?
I grew a third ear within a month, but
no bees.
No bees ever at 419 9th Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, by the way, because again, it's the time of year. Last night in Phoenix, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Arizona Diamondbacks, a game is delayed for 2 hours because right behind home plate, they have the mesh, the net that's, the backstop safety thing. A swarm of bees gathered on the backstop netting shortly before the game. They had to call a beekeeper to come to the stadium. The first pitch was delayed by 2 hours.
Here's some audio.
Yes, we are in a bee delay, a bee colony that has established a foothold high atop the backstop behind home plate, and thus we remain in a bee delay prior to Game 2 of the series here between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the bees began swarming, and obviously that's an issue. Blue Sky Pest Control is on their way. The beekeeper made his way, a grand entrance onto the field here at Chase Field. He was greeted by a standing ovation by the fans here.
I thought I was here to just take care of a bee problem, and people are pretty hyped up. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, they're drunk by now. There's been a delay. They're throwing back the suds. The bee guy gets there, and everybody's pretty stoked.
Not only were they stoked, they wanted to let him know how much they appreciated it. My man, his name is Matt Hilton, removed the bees and then threw out the first pitch.
Yes! That's how you do it in Major League Baseball.
Bees!
Actors have been attacked by bees.
Everywhere! God, they're huge! They're ripping my flesh off! They're huge and they're stinging!
Have you seen The Beekeeper? That's just reminding me of the movie The Beekeeper, which really doesn't have anything to do with bees. It's just Jason Statham kicking ass because somebody effed with Mrs. Cosby.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
well,
Mrs. Cosby. Haven't you seen the movie?
Yeah,
it's one of the. It's a Jason Statham movie.
Okay,
he just
then I've seen
major ass.
Then I've seen it. I've seen it in other movies.
Yeah, right. If you've seen a Jason Statham movie, you've seen them all. But his accent's gotten more understandable.
The bees in our house in 1995 were actual yellow jackets. They were wasps.
Oh,
yeah, it was.
Those are bad. They're mean.
Gnarly.
They come to get you. Bees, I think, defend themselves if you mess with the hive. But yellow jackets, they're just badasses.
We spent 3 days moving into a new house, and every evening when it would get really quiet, as we would just unpacking and moving things and getting a house set up because I'm about to go to Europe for 6 weeks, and so I've got I'm leaving first thing Friday. I'm leaving Friday afternoon for Europe, and Monday we start moving in. So Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, 4 nights of just 4 days of just trying to set up a whole house so that when I leave, it's not furniture first and then hang this stuff and put the forks in there. Where it just takes it out of you. Probably should have stopped drinking beer along the way, but anyway, every evening we would just be chill. So on the Thursday night, the night before I left, we just, for the third night in a row, we heard this noise, and it sounded like a faint rustling of a newspaper. Somebody in the next room crinkling a morning paper.
Yeah.
Long story short, after looking yet again in the attic and in the air conditioning vents, putting my ear up to the ceiling, there's a little drop ceiling over a bathtub, and I notice it's moist right next to one of the halogen light bulb things, and it's moist ceiling. I'm like, the ceiling's moist, and I poke it with my thumb, and my thumb just goes up into the ceiling.
Yeah. And
when I pull my thumb out, it looks like it looked like a B-17 footage where they're just dropping 1,000 bombs at a time. Out they came. The bomber wasps, they flew out fast. and I screamed, "It's bees!" as loud and as the highest note I ever hit in my life. Yeah. My wife is allergic to bee stings.
Oh,
I mean, it's not just it's not just I don't want to be stung by 50 wasps because it'll hurt. It's like she's gonna die. And I jumped out of the bathroom, shut the door behind me, and only 3 of the wasps came out with me before I shut the door.
Yeah,
and because it was dusk, they all went right to the window where there was still sunlight. And so I rolled up a Sports Illustrated and killed all 3 of them immediately, and then turned my back to the door, and knowing behind that door there's going to be, I thought, man, I bet there's like 100 wasps in there.
Yeah.
Kept the door shut, sealed it with duct tape, literally, and then walked outside into the backyard where I could look into the window into my bathroom. And when I looked in the window, all I saw was bees. It was 10,000 wasps.
You're gonna have to seal that
swarm.
bathroom off.
And I was just like, I'm in the backyard. I'm like, this is my first time owning a home, and I'm in my 4th day, and I'm like. And in my mind, what we had to do, I thought, well, we'll probably have to burn the house down. I didn't know you could
start over.
I didn't know you could get rid of bees. I thought that's it. It's won.
Like termites. Once they get in there,
they have won. I assumed infestation means start from scratch. And
we lost the home, honey.
Thankfully, that's not how it went. But we've all got bee stories. We've all got bug stories. Let's just call it infestation stories. This is the time of year when surprises happen. Like they say, don't pull up that floor unless you know what's underneath it, and you never know. So just leave things. The wall. You hear something in the wall, just leave it. Ignore it. Just put up another wall hanging. Just try to keep it at bay. So we've got a lot of we got some infestation fun we can have today if you like. But before any of that, we've got a history lesson and Mike Evans. So hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hope everybody's having a happy Lay Day. That's L-E-I. Lay Day in Hawaii, where I'm from. You buy that special person a lei. A pakakile was the one I always got, Cheryl. And Lay Day, also, of course, May Day for the rest of the world. Hope you're having a good one. You could have a good one by planning what movies you're going to see at Marcus Theaters this coming weekend. Marcus Theaters has some great movies playing now. They have some great movies coming in on Friday, which I will review. And don't forget, every Tuesday, $6 for any movie at any Marcus. Hey, bear with me on today's report, okay? Because it's a weird one, I'll tell you right now. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is the weirdest story in Hollywood today, maybe ever. Now, so everybody is on the same page. Some people might not know this story. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's mother had that weird Munchausen by proxy disorder, where a mother actually makes their child seriously ill just to get sympathy and usually for money from charities and well-wishers. When very young, poor little Gypsy went through some horrible things, from her teeth being pulled out and countless no-need surgeries. However, when Gypsy was about 16, she could walk, she could talk, and she realized what was going on. She wasn't sick, but she continued to only be seen in a wheelchair and went out in public acting very sick. At the age of 18, was actively on the internet using phony names and continuing the fraud. When she was 22, she was online looking for some lonely, clueless dude to assist her, apparently to kill her mom. Gypsy wanted out. Word is the mom wanted to continue the scam. Gypsy found some clueless dude online, reportedly promised him some sex, and they killed her. They killed her mother. Despite Gypsy planning an elaborate, very detailed escape, they were caught a week later. Gypsy was charged with second-degree murder, did 8 years in prison. The poor, clueless dude got life. When arrested, the police kept asking her, "Why didn't you just leave?" Gypsy said she was too scared. Look,
that's the worst
she
joke
played
I ever
along
heard.
with the ruse for years when she wasn't sick. But she is now a convicted murderer. And also now, she's getting all kinds of money offers. I mean, they're just being piled on. There was the movie, her reality show, Gypsy After Lockup, apparently being picked up for another season. There are the paid interviews with People magazine. She has a publicist, a podcast. She married a guy when she got out of prison, not the guy that helped kill her mom. Another guy, then got a divorce and called a press conference, got a lot of publicity on that, and on and on and on. Like I said, this is the weirdest story Hollywood today, maybe ever. Ugh. Boy, I'm excited about the Timberwolves. I can't wait. And Steve, if you get a chance, give me a call. Because I want to know what I should bet on this. The over-under points. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Oh, and one different note. I get tons of emails from our listeners asking for good old TV series to watch that they may have missed that now might be streaming. Here you go. American Rust with Jeff Daniels on Prime from 2021. American Rust on Prime, 2 seasons, 4 stars. Have a great Lay Day, May Day. Just have a great day, Mike Evans. See ya.
Never heard of it.
Gypsy. I thought maybe we were building to a joke, or at least a Paul Harvey moment Gypsy is Taylor Swift.
The rest of the story.
Exact page 2.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So is that a Netflix series about this Gypsy?
I just got more information than I knew I needed. I've heard that name, and I knew something was going on with Munchausen by proxy. But now I got the story. Now we can move on. May 1st, 1994, 30 years ago today, 3-time world Formula One champion Ayrton Senna of Brazil was killed. He was doing about 180 miles per hour while leading the San Marino Grand Prix in Italy, went right into a wall. This was a national tragedy in his home country of Brazil. Yeah. I have a dear friend in Brazil who grew up worshiping the game of football, Pele, the whole thing. And I remember him trying to talk about Ayrton Senna 2 years later, and it still broke him up. This guy was beyond a hero in Brazil. Yeah. There was 3 days of national mourning. The plane was, his body was flown to Brazil by the Brazilian Air Force. They went to Italy, picked him up. There was a state funeral. 500,000 people turned out to line the street from the airport to the funeral home. I mean, this was... this was as if only Pele in Brazil could have meant more to the sports fans of Brazil.
You're a NASCAR person. Maybe you don't follow Formula One or some of these European big sports. Senna, it's
Michael Jordan dying in his prime for a sport.
Watch the documentary. Yeah. It's crazy.
Incredible documentary.
There are statues of him down there.
Yep, amazing.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, May the 1st. Oh, it's spring, baby. There's no getting around it anymore. I'm not saying we're not going to have some bad weather. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if it froze over the weekend, but it's May. Yeah. I'm excited. We are cruising towards heaven on earth, the summer in Minnesota. I don't have to tell anybody. I'm just looking forward to my second summer here. And I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. If I can avoid the bees, I'll be great. Because, of course, this is bee season.
Damn bees.
This is when the damn bees show up. I love bees. We need bees.
Yeah.
I believe it was Albert Einstein who said when the bees go, humans have about 2 years. If the bees go, we go. Yeah. So God bless the bees. But I just don't like them in my house. I don't like them in the wall. We've got a few bee stories we've already gone into today. And we've all got personal stories, and there are some more stories. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers last night delayed for 2 hours because there was a swarm of bees on the backstop at home plate. It's just that time of year. We've got a caller on the phone, KQ Talking text line 651-989 Rock, who's got something they want to share. Candace, who we got?
Mike from River Falls.
Mike, good morning, sir.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Oh, we're doing great, brother. What do you got for us?
Hey, you talk about them in the walls, right?
Yeah.
How about ground hives?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got a ground hive story. I want to hear yours.
Every year. Yeah. I got about 3 acres at home. I'm cutting the grass. Bam. I got three of them on me right there, stinging the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yep.
3 of them.
And they seem meaner. The bees that live up in the hives, I think those are it's kind of like here on planet Earth with human beings. If you live up on a hill or a mountain somewhere, the rich people, they're a little nicer. But you get down into the ghetto, the bees in the dirt, they are always pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you think you're going to outsmart them, right? By putting dirt on top of the hole in the ground, right? No. They're smarter than you are. Because what they do is they drill another hole, right?
Yeah, now they're really pissed.
Yeah. Then they get pissed at you. Now you want to try and put that. They've got a white powder. It looks like flour. You can spray on there. It's a poison. So you try to spray that stuff on them. But you got to get right next to the hole to put it in there. Now you get 3 or 4 of them that are around there, and they get their other ones, and you get close enough, you get stung even more.
Oh, sure.
So,
man versus nature.
Yeah, the ground hives are the worst frickin' ones to have.
Well, hang in there, brother. If you got any, any new capers, any new stories pop up, hit us back. We wish you all the best. Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Hey, have a good one, man.
Zep, you got a Big Brother of the Year award once involving bees, right? Wasn't that what it was? The state of South Dakota honored you as the greatest sibling ever.
And this show constantly. So Steve tells his bee/hornet story, and he's a white knight. He's a hero saving his wife who's allergic to bees. Here I go with the villain story, and it does involve a ground hive. My brother and I are out picking rocks in South Dakota. There aren't a lot of trees, so the bees have to burrow into the holes, and we're picking rocks. And, we have a pickup out there, but as you pick rocks, you wander away from the pickup, and I tell Chris, my younger brother, I'm like, just throw the rocks in the hole. We'll fill in the holes. And, and then we don't have to walk all the way back over to the pickup.
Sure.
He's a little further away from the pickup than I am, quite a bit, maybe 30, 40 yards. He starts throwing these rocks in the hole. It's filled with bees. The bees come out. They swarm him. I run to the pickup. He's running to the pickup. Bees are in hot pursuit. I get into the pickup first, and I drive off. About 50 yards. And he's screaming, continuing. And as he gets closer to the pickup, I keep driving out a little bit further. He may have been stung once or twice, but it's what big brothers do. And still to this day, we'll get together and have a few beers. And And at some point, after we've had about 5 or 6 beers, I'll go, hey, man, sorry about that bee thing. He's like, yeah, you should be, man. One of these days, you're going to be old in your rocker, and I'm just going to come in with like a hive of bees and just dump them right on your lap.
I love that. That is a scene. Again, I hear stories like that, and I'm like, I got to put that in the movie. I'm not writing a movie, but one day I will, and that scene has to be in there.
Bad brother.
Just pulling forward a little bit more. My brother Jim used to always pull over for hitchhikers, and he'd go, lock the doors, and the hitchhiker would pull up and try to open the back door, and it would be locked, and we would just sit there, and the guy would chugga, and then he would just gun it away, and we would laugh, and then you just how cruel.
Just cruel.
And that's but that's to strangers. You're doing this to your own brother.
Yeah, my own flesh and blood. Yeah, exactly.
That's good stuff. Yeah. The epilogue to my bee story, which was so great. We found we had a little hive of yellow jacket wasps in the ceiling in our new house as we moved in. This is almost 30 years ago, and after I realized it was wasps, got Rosemary out of the house, freaking out, thinking, oh my God, we have to burn the house down now. There's no way to get rid of all these bees. I go to the yellow pages and I look up bees, and you just go back to there's bee removal. There's people that are there.
Sure.
I didn't know.
Probably has a big bee on top. I'm
in a giant city, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm like, there's no one here to take care of bees. Oh, there's a whole page of them. And so I called the first one on the list, AAA bee removers, and alphabetized, of course. And it was an answering service because it's an evening. It's probably 7 p.m., 7:30, or maybe even 8 by the time I call. And she's like, okay, what do you got? And I was like, yeah, I got bees in my house. I'm freaking out. And the woman's like, sir, give me your address. I give her the address. And she goes, you will get a call from the eliminist.
The eliminist.
And I was like, eliminist?
Dun, dun, dun.
That's way better than eliminator.
Yeah, I'm thinking I should be hearing like a Sergio, the spaghetti western.
Yeah, of course. That's what, and so I hang up, and Rosemary's like, what'd she say? I said, the eliminist is going to call. And 2 minutes later, phone rings. I'm like, hello? And this is what I hear. You got bees. I'm like, what? Yeah, I got bees. Are you the eliminist? He goes, yeah. All right, where you at?
Got him out of bed.
And I said, 419 9th Street. He goes, is that Midtown? I said, yeah, right by Piedmont Park. He goes, all right, I'm down by the airport. I'll be there in about 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to be here in 20 minutes? He goes, yeah. I go, okay, well, then what are you going to do? He goes, what? I said, what are you going to do? He goes, what do you mean? I go, like, can you get rid of the bees tonight? Like, and I'm like, I'm panicking. I'm going on tour the next day. And I go, dude, I'm leaving. I'm going to Europe tomorrow. I'm leaving my wife and my dog and my cats. And I go, I got to know that these bees. Yeah, that's me. That's me. And I said, I mean, like, when you leave tonight, will it be over? And he literally said this. Man, it was over when you picked up the phone.
Yes!
And he click. And I'm holding the cordless phone, and Rosemary goes, what? And I go, Rambo is coming over. I was like, that's the coolest guy I've ever met in my life. And so I wait.
Tell me he had like a holster that he had.
20 minutes later, I'm watching. And I'm either expecting like an ambulance-looking vehicle or the Ghostbusters car, something.
Right.
Purple Ford Escort. Just pulls right up.
Of course, yeah.
Guy gets out, puts on the bee suit, and he has what looks like a toolbox, but a tiny little, like the toolbox you can get at IKEA. It's that big. And he just comes walking up the driveway. He goes, he's yawning. He's stoned as he's like, all right, let's take it. Look, these bees. And I'm like, okay. And literally, he left 2 hours later. And I went, and the bees were dead. I had to I was vacuuming bees for the next 18 hours because they're everywhere in that bathroom. Yeah. But when he left, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I probably got like $1,000 in my checking account. I can write a check and go I'll get the money he needs. I'm thinking he's going to say it's $10,000.
Right.
And I'm happily gonna get this guy $10,000 the next day if I have to.
You call the eliminist. He gets his job done.
He did it. He did it. The bees check. Are dead. And he says, all right, that's $168. I was like, what? And I wrote him a check for like $300. I was like, here, just take all of this. Yeah. 168 or 186, whatever it was. It was a 30th of what I was expecting. And I've never written a check with a bigger smile on my face in my life. Absolutely incredible. Candace, do we have another caller?
They just dropped off.
Oh, well, if it's the eliminist, please call back and tell me your side of that story.
Eliminist, it almost sounds like, I don't know.
Man, it was over when you picked up the phone. Like, damn, and he was right. That guy.
He took his couple of $100. He went and bought some beer and a quarter ounce of pot and went right back to his house and took his pants off.
And he said, I said, how many bees do you think this is? And he said, this is 10 to 15,000. And he goes, but that would double every week.
Double every week. Well, that's what they do. They're a beehive.
And I was like, so wait, what would have happened? He goes, within a couple weeks, this would have gotten so heavy, it would because it was a damp ceiling that I pressed my thumb into, and that's how they fell out. He said, all the movement, that dampness is just part of that's a side effect of them building the hive bigger and bigger and bigger. And he said it would have eventually just fallen through the ceiling.
Wow, just
over the bathtub. And my immediate thought goes, okay, I'm in Europe. Rosemary's like, light a couple candles, all alone. I'm going to take a nice relaxing bath. And then that's the horror film. That's
not the bees!
That's that.
Not the bees!
The only saving grace would have been because she's allergic, it would have been over quick. I was like, I'm like already in my mind. I'm like, can you imagine?
That would have been a nice scene to come home to, like a freaking horror movie scene.
Well, after 2 days of not getting a phone call or here, I would have sent a friend, hey, go check on the house. I'm a little worried here. Yeah. And then they're all throughout the whole house. The animals are gone. It would have been like truly a horror film.
Yeah, like a Stephen King kind of thing. 7, the bees got her.
And as it turned out, no, nobody got stung. We got rid of all the bees. Well, the eliminist got stung. He took a few to the trunk. They got under his bee suit.
He's probably immune. That's nothing to him. He's got like leather-like skin.
He had
stung by so many bees.
3 wasp stings on his like belly, and he was just like, And I'm like, man, I'd be curled up in the fetal position with 3 wasp stings like that.
Well, and I don't suppose you can be an eliminist anymore. You can't kill the bees. And that's one of the reasons I think this family had that $20,000 bill, if you weren't listening earlier. $20,000 to have 60,000 bees removed from their home. I would like to give a shout out to Jerry Christensen, who sent us an email from Faribault. That's 30 cents per bee, by the way. He's got that calculator app of his working. But you have to have them removed now. You can't kill bees. There is no eliminist. There's
my
eliminist bee removal.
My eliminist literally took out an aerosol can. He sprayed it. He sprayed one shot up into the ceiling, and then he was in a bathroom. I was watching through the window in my backyard. He's in a room surrounded by thousands of bees. You can barely see anything but the swarm.
Yeah.
And he sprayed an aerosol can for this long. That was it. And every bee immediately fell. They could no longer fly.
Every bee, every bird in the neighborhood.
Every bee was down, and then we were vacuuming them up for hours and hours and hours. I had like a shop vac water vacuum to vacuum them up. And he said they'll all be, most of them will be dead within 20 minutes. They'll all be dead within an hour. You'll be finding them for days. And Rosemary, I mean, like, they went everywhere. They were in a stack of folded towels. They're in every towel, every fold.
Oh, God.
They went into sockets. Like, they were up in the light, the recessed lights. They were under the bar of soap in the shower. They were literally everywhere.
The hell, man.
But and all dead in moments after this spray. And I was like, whatever that is,
Don't
and you're
breathe
right.
in your home.
I
right.
promise you, whatever was in that can, that is no longer a part of bee. Not legally anymore.
No, they have bee rescuers now, bee first responders to remove the bees, which is we don't want the bees going away. This isn't a war on bees, but like my old man used to say, once you come into the home, after he would a possum would get into the garage and he'd just kill it, and my little sister would be like, Dad, he's like, I don't have anything against them, but once they come into the house, they're dead.
That's a different thing.
They must be eliminated.
That is a very different thing. But my hero story was I made a phone call. The Eliminist, make no mistake, he was the hero of the night. And speaking of heroes, this reads like the kind of thing I would daydream about when I was in middle school. But there's an 8th grader in Wisconsin. They say not all heroes wear capes. I think this kid might show up and start wearing a cape. We'll give you all the details in a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. An hour from now, we're going to be speaking with Nancy Grace, one of the OG true crime hosts. She has a new show, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, as you may expect. We'll be discussing that with her. She's got her eyes on a whole lot of cases at all times. Always a fairly fascinating conversation, I would imagine. I don't
look for porn.
That's it. That's what it was. Yeah, Nancy Grace in an hour. I've always had an overly active imagination. When I was a kid, middle school age, I'd be reading books for you'd read for school. Like I read Catch-22, and I would live in a bomber group in Germany for the whole month of I just became one of those characters. I read A Bell for a Johnny. I'm a ground troop in Italy rescuing, freeing a little Italian village from the fascists. Anything I was into, I lived there in my head. And along the way, you'd have the little hero narrative. You like, what if this happened? Or you'd hear about something, and
constantly.
How would I handle that as a kid? When I was an 8th grader, I absolutely would have imagined saving people from a fire, sit around in my mind, I'm just the guy who's going to come in on the white horse, and I bet that girl Yolanda's going to notice me.
There's always a girl involved that's going to absolutely going to dig what you just did.
And so what ended up happening was nothing. I just went to school every day. There was not one moment where I was ever the hero. I didn't save the day.
No one, not even a Heimlich in the cafeteria.
No, not a chance. There was one moment I could have done something. Maybe I witnessed a very violent assault, and I froze. I just stared at it like this is not real. This is not really happening. Learned a lot about myself today. I was 16 years old. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I need to file that away. It wasn't like anybody. If it had been like a family member, if my mom wasn't, I think I would have been fine. But it was just the most unexpected thing. I was like, wait, that guy's beating that other guy, and it just caught me so off guard. You never know how you're going to respond. Is my point.
You don't know.
You never know how you're going to respond. There's an 8th grade boy in Glendale, Wisconsin, named A.C. Holland III. First of all, awesome name, A.C. Yeah. A.C. Holland III no longer has to question what he's going to do at a moment's notice if things go sideways. Again, 8th grade the other day, Wednesday evening last week, he is on his school bus. He notices, looks like the bus is veering into oncoming traffic. Uh-oh. He hops up because he then noticed the driver's not doing anything. The bus driver had passed out. She was non-responsive. What did he do? took over the bus. 8th grader got there, hopped in the seat, saved the day. Here is young AC Holland III.
I walked, see if she okay, and she ain't respond. So her foot was still on the gas. I scooted her over, moved her foot off the gas, and I just turned the wheel and pressed the brake at the same time.
First thing went through my mind is like, so wait, you drove a bus? And yeah, I'm just proud of him.
I'm just glad that I was able to get everybody home safe and make sure that everybody was okay.
Yeah, just didn't pull it off to the side of the road. He's like, yeah, I got this. Got the wheel, the whole thing. And yeah.
He and his dad, since AC was a little boy, they said they spent a lot of time working on cars, learning about mechanics. His dad said, it didn't faze me. I know he's capable of just about anything. It's an incredible, and he's also he's a good go-karter. Like, he does indoor racing, so he's familiar with being behind the wheel even in 8th grade. But sitting on the bus and noticing that something's going a little wrong and then hopping up, taking action, that's a kid with a future right there.
All right.
I'm serious. That just, you know what? Whatever he decides to do, he's just going to go do it.
Yeah, right. Well, these are the people, the first responders, right? When everyone else is running out of the building or they're running into the building, they have that wired into their DNA to do that. There is no amount of training, that can bring you to that sort of reaction. You take that and then you add the training and you become a first responder. By the way, it says he did just safely get it off the road and park it. I thought he went and dropped off all the kids.
No, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine?
But listen to this. The news station that responded there in Green Bay, he gets out there, the news station's done with the report, and the car battery's dead. Then AC helped them jump the dead battery for the news station car.
That's great. That's outstanding. What a kid.
Watch this kid. Remember that name, AC Holland II.
So up in let's see, where are we? Eden Prairie, not up.
Oh, that was Dad's the second. He's the third.
He's the third. That's right.
All right.
Twin Cities fella is in a bit of a pickle. There's nothing heroic about this one. A 23-year-old named Seth Pierce, 6 felony counts, 2 counts of first-degree burglary in connection with an incident. Long story short, a couple woke up last summer and found a large cut in the bottom of the kitchen window screen. Around the home, cabinets, drawers, dressers, somebody had gone through all their stuff, found $350 in cash and about $8,000 in jewelry is missing. And the couple is like, it's awful to be burglarized.
Yeah.
It's an incredible violation. You feel terrible when it happens. Called the police. Police come over. And at some point, the cop said, so were you guys drinking these beers last night? And the couple's like, we didn't drink any beer last night. There's a couple empty bottles on the counter. I wonder if the thief did that. Yes, he did. Guys, gals, there's DNA.
Yeah, been around for a
in
while.
Your saliva
He
when
thinks
you
he's Santa Claus.
drink out of a bottle.
I like the fact now you've got a beer bottle in your hand as you're headed in to burgle the home. Okay, you got to get a little liquid courage going. I get it. But he brought another. I've got one here. I'm going to stick one in the pocket, and I'm going to finish this one. Then you leave the beer bottles behind. Total DNA evidence. Oh, by the way, and they have your DNA because you have an arrest record. You've been in and out of. These people arrest themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you say, Zeb? You're supposed to you got to wear like a rubber suit. You got
to shave your body, put on the latex suit, the whole thing to get away with it. I'll tell you one thing you don't do. You don't leave a couple of beer bottles behind.
I'm sure it's really stressful, robbing people. You got to take the edge off.
Yeah, that's how I would. I mean, I can't walk out of the house without forgetting. It's 2 trips. Heck, I left work yesterday, got out to my truck, and then I don't even think about it. I just start walking back in and wondering what I forgot. And there's that's what I forgot, my glasses today. So I wouldn't be a good burglar. I'd be leaving the beer bottles behind. But this hoople head. Back to jail.
We took Chauncey Gorman. I drove him out to the vet yesterday for a round of x-rays to see if he could have the splint, his cast, removed.
Yeah.
And good news, it was. He's healing up great. He's on schedule. So they removed his cast. They put another new fresh wrap. He's still got a bandage on his leg. And so he's back to limping because he's had this splint for 6 weeks, and now they take it off and he's real tender again. But, when we've got this, like a boot that you put over the wrap for when he goes outside, it's a waterproof, it's just a wrap. It's another layer. So you don't get he's got a bandage that you don't want that to get wet. So we've got this thing we had to buy, and you just pull it. You pull it up his leg. You Velcro it in. It's a tight. It's like it's a walking boot for when he goes outside. When he came out of the X-ray yesterday, I loaded him up into the car. He was still a little sedated. He's a little out of it, and I forgot to get the boot back. And I drove all the way home. Get there, they call. They're like, "Hey, Chauncey's boot is here," and I was like, I got," because the same thing. Yeah. I leave here every single day. I pack up, and I stop and I stare and I look and I go, wallet, keys, phone, laptop charger, phone charger. I mean, I have to go down the list. I have left my laptop charger behind in this studio 30 times. 30
Just did
times.
it on Monday. Got all the way back home, and I've got the old crappiest laptop. When you unplug it, count backwards from 10. The battery's dead.
Oh, yeah.
It's just shot,
tough.
so it's got to be plugged in. So I get home, and no freaking charger, and I've got to get on my laptop. So turned around and went right back into work.
Ooh,
frustrating.
Speaking of another heroic tale, how about this one? A police officer in Canada anonymously donated a kidney.
Oh, really?
Like, you can do that. You can just, hey, I got 2, and someone's going to need 1, and I'll just...
Yeah. Can you sell it? I mean,
did the testing. They said there is someone who needs 1, and you're a match. And he said, yeah, I'm just going to... But I don't want them to know it's me. Just giving back. The woman who received the kidney is a school teacher. It did save her life. This officer, I should say, is also a woman. So a female cop in Canada said, I'm going to donate a kidney, save the school teacher's life. And now the 2 women, after the whole thing happened, after their surgeries, they did decide to meet, and now they're good friends.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely story. I mean, they're just, but I'm blown away by that. Okay, 8th grade kid taking over the school bus, pulling it over safely, making sure no one's hurt. Awesome. Anonymously just donating one of your 2 kidneys because you know someone out there could use it and you're just doing fine. That's another level. That's boy,
I don't.
Well done.
Yeah, selling it, sure. Hell, I would have sold off so many organs by now in my 20s and 30s. When
I got a guy in New Orleans. I'll connect you with him.
Please, but now it's too late. I've ruined all my organs. Nobody wants the hard miles I've put on my kidneys or anything else. But it's come up before. I've had a friend in the past and thought, and then Maria would say, well, would you have to be tested to see if you can donate them a kidney. And I went, well, I mean, I really, really like them.
Yeah.
I mean, hard on the like.
Yeah.
Not sure, but probably love.
Yeah.
But a kidney, one of my kidneys, I mean, that's because one of your kids or, a close family member, you don't think twice about it. Candace, of course I wouldn't. I mean, would. No, but I mean, that's a hell of a thing to give up something in your body. And then you'd have that awkwardness between you. Like, what if... I would be afraid that, or vice versa, someone would give me a kidney, and then like a month later, hey, dude, how you feeling? Hey, I'm back in shape. Thank you so much for that kidney. Great. You guys have Metallica tickets? Well, I mean, how do you say no? It would that would be weird. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'll never have to be in that position. But of course I would do the right thing and leave town.
Yeah. I got a good buddy who has he's on liver number 2. And
liver number 2
received his original one liver transplant.
I thought he had some bad habits, ruined the liver, and then got the new liver and went, well, I guess I can start smoking and drinking again. Ruined another one.
No. He's on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
But got a new liver, and it's going back. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, gosh, it's probably been 5 years. It was 2008. Okay, 17,
flies
whatever.
by.
But it was a really, watching him go through what he went through and waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And at the time I was thinking like, this is, if it was a kidney, what, I thought about it. Like what, I mean, I can't donate a liver to the guy, but I could give him a kidney if he had needed it. And, but then I do see that there are partial liver donations. Like there are, if I'm not mistaken, you can give a chunk of your liver. It's a possible thing. I don't think I'm making that up. But yeah,
I don't think I'm making. That's my favorite thing that will be said this week. I don't think I'm making that up.
A living donor liver transplantation, surgery that removes a disease. You replace it with a portion of a healthy liver from a living donor. So that's because the liver can regenerate. So basically, your liver is just a starfish right there in your abdomen.
Just grows back.
Just does the job. But watching my buddy go through that, I remember thinking at the time, like, man, I would love to be able to help. And then it's got to be a weird thing when then you think that, and then you're told, oh, actually, you can.
Yikes.
Yes, here, take one of these.
Good, cool.
Yeah, like you said, I'm sure there's a list in everyone's mind where you don't even think twice about it. But then there's got to be, I'm sure there have been moments in time when someone says, hey, you're a match for my kidney. And the guy goes, oh, it's interesting, but no. That's a tough one.
I mean, my luck would be, all right, here, take the kidney. And then about 3 months later, hey, your other kidney's failing. Right? Candace, would you
Nope.
No, just not going to do it.
No, I'm just kidding. I would for like my brother. That's about it.
Okay. Well.
What about a hair transplant? I'm losing a little in the back. I'd like
I don't
a
know
blonde
if you can handle
ponytail.
being a blonde.
Here's hoping this is not something any of us have to run across. How about that?
Or a fecal transplant. That's what they do for irritable bowel. They do it for something, right? The
Crohn's disease.
Crohn's disease, that's right.
Yeah.
Would you, Candace, give me some of your poop?
If you want to deal with this, then yeah.
Oh, that's right. You need you need healthy poop. The fecal transplant, I'd give that all day long.
We've crossed the line now.
You don't even have to ask.
Yeah, give me a couple of minutes. Let me fire up some coffee. Get you one going here in a moment.
Man, now I'm just off way out in the weeds thinking about no. You've given me a lot of food for thought. A lot of food for transplant, I guess. That is a pretty fascinating one. I also have a friend who has Crohn's disease, and they got one of those. Yeah. They got someone else's poo shoved up there and straighten them right out. I mean, that's the thing. It does the job. It's like,
I mean, it's we giggle about it, but of course, if you're suffering from Crohn's disease, a very good friend of mine, I don't know if he ended up having the fecal transplant or not, but I do know that he suffers, man. I mean, there are times where
brutal.
he's just, we're out doing stuff. We like to go out and ride motorcycle together, and he's like, all right, that's it, I'm bailing. Everything cool? He goes, nope. Bad belly, got to get home, and I might not make it home. I'll be, grabbing a tree strip here and leaning up against a tree if I have to. But yeah, that's not a cool thing.
Here's something that is a cool thing, or maybe you disagree. I think it happens to be. The Drug Enforcement Administration has said that cannabis will be reclassified from a Schedule 1 drug. Right now, cannabis, according to the DEA, is like heroin or ecstasy. They're going to put it down to a Schedule 3 drug, which is like ketamine, testosterone, and steroids.
Oh, so it's a little less illegal at the federal level.
Yes, at the federal level, it's no longer like, as I said, the idea that heroin and cannabis are next to each other on any list makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
So now it's going to go down to Schedule 3. Doesn't make it federally legal.
No, but
the reclassification, it signals that the U.S. government is they're acknowledging the potential benefits, medically speaking, of weed products. That's a good thing.
Well, they're inching in that direction, aren't they? I mean, this thing's going to topple. It's going to fall, and weed will be recreationally legal in all 50 states, and at the federal level, 10 years? I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my fecal donation area. But yeah, so, all right, good. I mean, this is, some of these things, because a pot got lumped in with all that stuff, became so draconian, 3 strikes and you're out. People are going to jail for life sentences
it's nuts.
For running a little weed here and there. And maybe someday, perhaps, here in the state of Minnesota, we'll actually be able to buy some of this weed that's now legal.
It's coming, baby. Just hold on.
But now they're kicking it to 2025. We got to get Mitch back on and talk about this, because the state legislature is doing it so piecemeal. That's just so Minnesota. All right, we're going to let you have fun. Not too much fun, though. You kids can go out into the backyard, but we don't want you to play with. No, you're going to get hurt. Don't get on the trampoline. Don't get in the pool. Don't light any fireworks. But you just sit there quietly and have some nice, quiet fun. That's That's the state of Minnesota. I mean, God bless them. They get out there progressively, and then they get out in front of their skis a little bit, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. So now they want to make sure that they can enforce it legally, so you can't drive with a little THC in your blood system. They want to make sure that kids can't get their hands on it. They got to do all these studies.
Sure.
What year did we even legalize it recreationally? I don't even remember anymore, but now they're saying perhaps they might be able to open up a dispensary sometime in 2025 because they have to have time to be able to grow it because you have to grow it in your state.
Yeah.
You can't import it from out of state.
Baby. It's coming. It's coming. Listen.
What am I going to do? I've been waiting in my entire life to get stoned.
Yeah, I was going to say, whatever you've been doing so far, just keep doing that, okay? So far, so good.
All right. Well, you can grow your own. I'm going to get it started this summer. Yeah, I'm going to get a maybe right here in Studio C. I'll start a little plant over there. We've got good lighting in here. It's their electricity. They probably wouldn't even notice. Might get a hydroponic setup going in here.
I remember at some point someone talking about hydroponic facility and gonna do this and like I'm gonna dig down in my basement and set up this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then being told like, no man, those black helicopters, they have those heat sensors, and there was a time in life when black helicopters was all you ever heard about, and they can tell if you have over $10,000 cash or hydroponic lighting in your basement.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, really? And that's pre-internet.
No, Excel Energy knows when you have a hydroponic setup in your basement.
That's who knows. Yeah. Isn't that funny? It's like, no, dude, that's a weather helicopter for Channel 11. It's the energy company. It's your electric bill, dumbass.
That
it's not
indica makes you a little paranoid.
Heat sensor helicopter or Excel Energy.
Remember when Cheech and Chong had the pool and they had the blue cover on the pool and the pod setup was down underneath the pool until it started. But I think it was the helicopter that created some wind or whatever and lit off the entire thing.
Hey, so the NFL draft is come and gone, but hope springs eternal. Listen, if you want to fulfill your dream of playing in the NFL one day, generally speaking, you got to play in high school. You certainly have to play in college because college football is basically the minor leagues for the NFL. Or never play football a day in your life and you can still get drafted. I'll explain because that's exactly what just happened last week in the draft. That's coming up in a few minutes. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Def Leppard photograph right there. That's like an old throwback word, photograph. I mean, we have pictures now. You got, what's the latest picture in your phone? But photograph, hearkening back to a time when you had a few photographs. And think about how much each picture meant. Because you had so few of them.
Yeah, I was just was that Nickelback? I was just out at Mom and Dad's place out on the farm and was downstairs with Dad. He's showing me he's got his woodworking projects down there, and there they were, the photo albums. Oh. Remember the photo albums? Yeah. My mom has a stack as tall as I am.
I remember in college.
A 6-foot stack of photo albums, and I started going through them.
Yeah, sure.
Why is it so much cooler? Now I know it's nostalgic and it's my childhood and there were those feelings involved, but I don't ever feel that when I'm just scrolling through my phone.
Because you don't have 9 pictures of the same thing looking for the perfect shot like you do in a phone. You have one photo, and it's a little blurry, and the dog's tail is not in the picture, but that's okay.
Right.
No, it's incredible. When I was in college, I was dating a girl, and we were at her house, and somebody said something. There had been a house fire recently. I just remember her mom saying, like, well, if the house is on fire, I'm just grabbing the photo albums. That's it. And it was like such a striking thing to hear someone say, like an adult person, like all the stuff in this house and all you're getting is the photo albums. But that's what it really, I mean, now, house fire, it's like, I got 9 billion pictures in the cloud. The last thing I'm going to think of. But we have, Rosemary and I at our house, we have photo albums that, stopped being added to in 2007 or something. Up until then, we've got all these, we've got ours from the 90s. And then when the kids came around, 2000 and 2002, and then right around 2008, that's it. There's no more pictures.
Yeah,
and
we have all this 8mm film of kids right up until the time that, like about that same time you said. And now it's
it's just everything's just in there. It's just in that phone. And but I was listening to that song "Photograph" and I'm thinking about it. Like there was a time, and I remember I had when I dropped out of college and moved to Atlanta. I had a Ziploc bag with like 30 pictures in it. That's how I transported them. And I had that was like my life up until now in under 40 photographs. It was some school photos. It was me in a play. It was me playing soccer. It was a girl I dated, another girl I dated. It was just photos that I had not, for whatever reason, gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And I carried it along with me. And that bag of photos is still in my house today. It's not been added to in forever. But there's just a time in my life when I could sum up this is my planet right here in this bag of pictures.
And mine was in a Nike shoebox. I had mine and it had some newspaper clippings and a few things in there. And I think it's still around somewhere. I see it every once in a while.
For my birthday this year, my friend Alicia, she printed out a bunch of photos of us, like actually printed that, got them developed. And then she gave me a disposable camera to use on my birthday. So I'm going to go develop those soon. It's really exciting. I wonder how much it costs.
Can you just take those into the old pharmacy or wherever?
I got to take it in. It's a camera. I got to take it in, get it developed. It's probably way more expensive now.
Marley has an entire wall in her bedroom is photos from those disposable cameras. Yeah. She loves those, and she's got it's a collage, and it's 1,000 pictures probably. I mean,
yeah, Sydney really
she's always enjoyed that
the photography bug, and she wanted a Polaroid one year, and I'm like, well, they don't make Polaroids anymore. We're going to get on eBay and find an old Polaroid. Well, they do make Polaroids. They still make Polaroid cameras and the film, and it's supply and demand. The demand is very low, so the supply is very low, so it's very expensive. I remember going, I found it online, got the Polaroid camera and the film. $100 for 10 pictures. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's your kiddo. It's your 16th birthday. This is what you want. You live with a camera around your neck, and I love the old school photography. And she did indeed get a degree in photography, but I remember giving her, I said, I'm spotting you 10 pictures.
Yeah.
You're on your own after this.
That's it.
Be careful.
And by the way, the number of pictures taken, it continues to rise every single year. In the last 2 years, more photos have been taken than in the entire history of photography before that.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, digitally, you mean, because of the digital.
Yes, I'm saying it's 5... Let's see. The number, I believe, was 5 billion photos are taken every day on planet Earth now because of smartphones.
5 billion.
5 billion. And the average person with an iPhone in America, the average person takes 23 pictures a day. I don't take 23 pictures a day, but I guarantee you my daughter does.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you Candace does, because for every picture you see of Gigi, there's 114 that didn't make the cut.
Well, she's so perfect. Every photo. I can never delete one, even if she looks crazy.
Can't. I will take 23 pictures to take one photo. If I'm taking one, I just sit there and tap, and then go back. I hope eventually someday, and then delete like 22
You know what I do on
them.
planes? At least I'll take 10 or 15 minutes of every flight. I just delete photos from my phone. Like, okay, I'm done with solitaire. I don't want to watch any of these bad movies. I'll get rid of 362 photos, and I still have 5,000 pictures on my phone.
Right.
And by the way, don't have albums set up. I don't have them arranged. I have friends who you go, hey, remember when we went to that the Preds game in 2009, and 2 seconds later, here's a photo from it. And I'm like, I'd be scrolling back to 2009 and trying to find it. That's how I roll. I wish I had taken a photograph of the hive of bees that was in my ceiling in 1995.
I'm surprised you didn't.
Yellow jacket wasps. I had a Fuji camera that used film at the time, but I was in such a panic state. The last thing on my mind was, let's record this. But I would really, really wish I had. I wish I had a photo of the Eliminist who got rid of my wasps. I wish I had a photo of the aerosol can he used to kill 10,000 bees in 4 seconds. I wish I had covered the whole thing. I would
and now
go back.
You would have. You'd have video. You'd have photos.
I'd have
there'd
everything.
Be social media posts.
I'd have everything.
And we'd all be sharing in the Eliminist.
It's a real drag. It's bee season. Last night, the Dodgers-Diamondbacks game was delayed 2 hours because in Phoenix, at the ballpark, on the backstop at home plate, a swarm of bees had to be removed. They called a bee removal dude. He came out, 2 hour delay, and then he ended up throwing out the first pitch because the place was rocking as he got rid of all the bees. So it's that time of year. Candace, I believe on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989. Rock, we have a caller.
Yes, we have Rocco from St. Paul.
Rocco, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
What's up, man?
Yeah, back when I was my late teens, still living at home, you couldn't afford a hotel. So you go parking with your girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
So we were parking in the woods, and all of a sudden a bee comes in the car. Goes down her top. inside her bra.
Let's get that.
She takes her bra off because she was so, terrified. She was so scared of bees.
Yeah.
And we finally shushed the bee out of the car. And then she started putting her bra back on. I'm like, what are you doing? Mr. B did the job for me. So
Yeah.
Rocco, are you able to train bees? Were you able to work out something with that bee? You let the trained bee loose? Because that's a brilliant move right there.
yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't know any beekeepers, but
Damn. Well,
you,
sometimes Lady Luck shines her light on you.
Mr. B with the assist.
hey, thanks, guys. Long time, first time.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Rocco.
Man, that's like a scene from Porky's or something right there. That's like every '80s teen,
down the bra.
Man, you couldn't have asked for anything better than that. Mentioned this a second ago. I gotta complete the story. So the Buffalo Bills last week in the NFL draft, with the 221st pick in the draft, they chose Travis Clayton from the UK, not the University of Kentucky, from the UK, the United Kingdom. They drafted him as an offensive lineman, which is odd because he's never played on the offensive line. He's never played in the defensive line. He's never played a snap of football in his life.
What the hell was he doing in the draft?
Travis Clayton was not in the draft as far as he knew. Well, actually, he did know.
Is it a different Travis
He
Clayton?
was one of 16 players that were given an opportunity to enter the NFL through the International Player Pathway Program. Okay, so there's that, but why on earth does someone think he can play football? Here is why. Because he is a rugby player in England. Rugby's a team sport. Rugby is football is a derivative of rugby, I should say.
Sure.
There are some similarities there. Apparently, the Bills took a look at this kid, liked the way he moved, liked his footwork.
Okay.
Offensive line, you got to have great foot. Those guys are the giant ballet dancers of the NFL.
Yeah.
They took a look. They saw the way he moved on the field in rugby, and they said, I think we can probably train this guy up and make him a nice offensive lineman.
Okay.
I'm reminded of a guy named George Fant, F-A-N-T, who was the center for the Western Kentucky University basketball team. 6'6", but he played like 6'10".
Right.
A great athlete. Played college basketball. And before his senior year, the football coach just was, this is a Division I university, where my alma mater, Western Kentucky. Football coach is at a basketball game, and he's just watching the guy play basketball, and he goes up to him, he goes, have you ever played football? And he goes, not since like 9th grade. And he goes, dude, you're like an offensive lineman or a tight end. The way you move, I think you could be great. Senior year of college, he goes out and plays football just on a lark. He's been an offensive lineman in the league for 10 years now.
You do hear about these stories from time to time. You know who I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the tackle, the 400 offensive linemen that played college Division I football, say here for the Gophers.
Yeah.
And they took who? A rugby player in England that's never played a down of football, and I've been playing this since Pop Warner when I was 7 years old. But, it does happen. These stories do happen where they pluck these guys out of there. In fact, it was Nick Saban during the draft. They broke down the percentage of starters in the NFL last season. Number one were number one draft picks, 28%. Number two draft picks at 24%. Number three draft picks at 18%. I'm making up some of these numbers. But the number four of most starters, undrafted. Before the fourth round, the undrafted players, and that's why the Vikings, I think, signed 17 undrafted players after the draft. There's the draft after the draft where they go just as crazy and start calling and signing all these guys. But
because they're not drafted, they're on the cheap.
Yeah, but I'm thinking to myself, I played football my entire life, and they picked some guy from England because he's huge and he plays rugby. But let's hope the guy makes it. Could be a good story.
I was touring with a Welsh band, and they're all big rugby fans, and so I watched a lot of rugby, and it's a cool game. I really got into it, and they kept saying they would show that you'd see a guy break through and get a rugby touchdown, and at one point one of the guys goes he would destroy an American football, and I was like, oh, you think pretty fast?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hang on a minute, and I pulled up a clip of Barry Sanders highlights. I'm like, you think this guy could make it at rugby? And they watched like 3 minutes of highlights, and they're all like, I've never seen anything like that. I'm like, no, stop. I'm sure your rugby players are talented. Don't get me started on what running backs in the NFL are capable of.
Give me one of those overinflated footballs and let's toss it to T.J. Watt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just please stop yourself. Candace, I believe we have another caller.
Yes, we have Stephanie from Plymouth.
Stephanie, good morning. Oh, Stephanie.
Good morning, Steve. Big fan.
Hey, there she is. What's going on, Steph?
Sorry. Well, I want to tell you my story. About 40-plus years ago,
okay,
I was living out in California in my early 20s, hanging out, working out there, living the life of California, Midwest girl.
Nice.
And I happened to go to an air show for work, and we went back the next day, and it was at El Toro. And knew exactly when the Blue Angels were going to come over, the best shots and everything. And there were a couple of Marines sitting there drinking some Heineken, feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was telling them when to take the shots. And all of a sudden, because of some of the sounds of the aircraft, they sent the bees out. They swarmed from a local hive and literally swarmed the airfield.
Oh, boy.
And they were all over. And that Marine, he grabbed me, protected me. 40 years almost. We've been married.
Semper Fi. That's a happy story. Yeah, that is hot. Candace is very turned on by that.
Wow.
Women daydream about that kind of stuff.
That's the way to meet him. Go to an air show, pick up a Marine, and you're set for life.
Man, no kidding. That is outstanding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's the best bee story of the morning there.
That's
no doubt.
very good. Very well done there. That reminded me, thank you for the call, Stephanie. We talked earlier, an 8th grade boy over in Wisconsin saved the day when his bus driver passed out. He jumped up and got control of the school bus and safely parked it, right?
Yeah.
I did have a situation in 4th grade where I had to grab my mom's steering wheel, where she literally had like a virtual panic attack at the wheel. And it was on Memorial Day, 1975, on my way I had a broken arm and we were going to get the cast removed, and we were in Annapolis, Maryland, and the Blue Angels are buzzing around town. It's Memorial Day, as they do. And we were on a bridge over the Severn River, and I looked over to the right out the passenger window. I was like, hey, Mom, because one of the solo Blue Angels was buzzing up the river, and he flew over the bridge that we were on at what felt like 3 feet over the car. Yeah, just like that fast. And I saw it coming. I was like, Mom, Blue Angel. There's a Blue Angel coming, and it's coming right at us. And it's a few hundred feet over the bridge. But those planes are bigger than you think when they're that close. Mm-hmm. And it felt like the tip of the wing could have hit the car. It was one of those real fast. And my mom literally just screamed, and both her hands flew off the wheel. I've completely forgotten about this. She literally just went, Mom! And both hands off. We're on a bridge, and I'm like, Mom! And I grabbed the steering wheel and just held it. And she didn't take her foot off the gas, though. We're still driving. And it was a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds, which felt like a minute. And then she put her hands back on the wheel, and I was like, are you okay? And she was like, oh, my God. And I was like, I told you. I said, Mom, Blue Angel. All the kids. Blue Angel.
Well, I guess we know where to get your freezing in a situation comes from.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's so funny. Forgot all about that. But that was a big moment for me. Grab the wheel.
Yeah, the Blue Angels. Yeah, that was. I mean, see, you did leap into action. I'm thinking more and more about our phone caller now. And that Marine that saved her life, I wouldn't put it past a Marine.
Total setup.
Yeah, he brought out a jar of bees.
Yeah,
I mean, you're in El Toro, the home of Top Gun, and the jets flying over kicked up some bees. There wouldn't be any bees because the jets go off every day. I think that Marine brought a jar of bees. Hey, guys, works every time. And let the bees out next to the ladies, jump on top of them.
I hate to bring it down, Stephanie. Those were honeybees, not a stinger to be found.
No, that's a great story.
It's awesome. Not honey, but carpenter bees. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, yeah, the carpenter bees.
Yeah, when we had our wasp infestation, when I called, actually, I said, I've got yellow jackets. And the woman said, they're probably carpenter bees. They look like, I'm like, no, I know what a wasp is.
Yeah.
And it's probably carpenter's bees. I was like, lady.
You're not even here.
I have carpenter's bees. They're boring holes in my fence as we speak. Yeah. I know what that looks like. These are wasps.
That's frustrating.
These are yellow jackets.
Give me the Eliminist now.
I am a mile away from the campus of the Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets. I know what they look like.
I never even thought about this. We alfalfa, everyone knows that you harvest that for hay. That's hay that you then feed to your cattle, your livestock in the winter. Right, exactly, and goats as well. But we need to plant it, right? So my dad comes up with this idea. Seed for alfalfa had gone way through the roof that year. And he said, this year we have a lot of alfalfa on our farm out in South Dakota. This year we're going to harvest it. And we're going to harvest it for seed. We're not going to cut it for hay. We're going to harvest it and sell the seed. And we're going to make like 5 times more than selling all the hay.
Nice.
All right. Sounds fantastic, Dad. Oh, I know we have an interview to get along to. Anyway, long story short, we needed bees to pollinate it. So I spent that summer sitting in beehives. I was the guy in the bee thing.
Really?
Buzzing around.
Yeah,
and,
nice.
And working bees that summer. I forgot about that. And then it was about halfway through, and we had all this gear on, and another guy comes out from the FDA or whatever to check our bee setup, and he goes, "What you wearing all the bee stuff for?" Dad goes, "Well, we're working with the bees." He goes, "Yeah, these bees don't sting. They don't have stingers."
Nice.
200 degrees out there, and I'm in this sweaty thing. I'm like, geez, Dad, do a little research. All right, Nancy Grace.
Oh, boy.
Talking true crime here before 8:30. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talkin' text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, May the 1st. In a few minutes, Nancy Grace will be joining us on this very show. Boy, the true crime explosion of the last decade, she was way ahead of that. I mean, she's been looking at true crime and tracking down people and trying to find missing folks for many, many, many years.
Relentlessly.
Yes.
In her Nancy Grace way. Yeah, she really gets after a story and gets on it and gets some results. I mean, she's brought attention to a lot of stories that might not otherwise have received the attention and found some resolution. But yeah.
Certainly has. As we await Nancy's call, real quick here, relationship therapists are pretty much...
Why'd you bring that up?
Are talking about a nighttime habit that's really getting in the way of a lot of relationships.
Uh-oh.
Okay, ready for this?
Yeah.
Social media scrolling.
I knew it.
They call it parallel scrolling. Here's the deal. You're in bed. One of you is trying to go to sleep, and the other one is just scrolling on their phone, looking at their phone. A lot of couples apparently are complaining their partner's constantly on the phone, distracted. It's hard to get their attention, and especially at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is unwind, and then you look up and it's been 40 minutes and you're still just scrolling down Instagram reels or whatever. Not a problem in our relationship because I go to bed so early now. It's like if Rosemary gets in, she gets in bed, she'll just be. I'm like, hey, look, what is it? 7:40. Whoo, boy, gotta call it a day. Now, in the old days, that might have been a problem, but now I'm just like, look, I'm gonna face that wall, and in 19 seconds, I'm gonna be asleep.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Yeah, as long as you're not keeping the other person up,
Yeah.
If you're not, listening to a bunch of loud, rowdy videos or something like that, who cares?
The one thing that is sometimes will get in the way of our relationship is the fact that my wife does listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. Okay. And then she'll want to update me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, which one is this? This is the uncle? Oh no, it's the grandpa who embezzled the money. Yeah. And then he looks like DB Cooper. And then the sister was in the Manson family. I get so confused.
Yeah, I have to stop. I mean, I have to stop watching true crime before I go to bed because it affects me, man. I think about it all night. I'm not trying to make out after that.
Well, the other night, clearly Rosemary was having a nightmare. Like she was literally no, like shouting out, very upset. And I said, babe, it's okay. You're having a dream, and this whole thing. And I'm like, come on. And then the next day I said, hey, do you remember last night? Like you were crying in your sleep. You were really terrified. She goes, oh, yeah. And it was literally, she's like, well, I was listening to this podcast the other night. There was an old, there was an old Dateline on. And I'd seen it before, but I was watching it again. And she was like, that's what my dream was. I couldn't find Marley. And it was just like the guy in the attic. And I was like, yeah, enough already.
Maybe something a little more sedate, meditative, maybe something naughty and fun and frisky before bed. I don't know, just to put your mind in in a good place before you head off to dreamland.
I turn on an app that does this. and I'm going to sleep. Rosemary's looking for I wonder whatever happened with that kidnapped family. Like, babe, this is not going to be good for your rest. This is not a fitful night's sleep that you're looking for.
I sleep with the fan. I have to have the fan. I need that white noise, and not just any white noise will do.
Our son, Connell, he cannot sleep without a fan on.
Yeah, not a television.
Yeah.
Not an app that's playing the sound of waves lapping up onto the beach. It must be a fan. But Maria does not like the fan, the air. She doesn't like the air moving around, and it makes her cold and that sort of thing. So the compromise was I did get the fan app.
Nice.
It has like 4 different fans on there. It's got that old time real. It even has a fan that has a little bit of a ding to it. That old metal fan that would go around with tink, 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 tink.
That's great.
Who would want that? That'd drive you nuts. But I guess I don't need the air moving around. I just need the noise.
When I get on a plane and I put on my headphones, there is an artist, an Irish singer named Lisa Hannigan, who I absolutely love. And her music, I love her music, and it will put me right to sleep. It's like the most comforting thing.
Enya?
And no, it's okay, sure, but my Lisa has no comparison. No, I'm
Sarah McLachlan.
Oh my God! Now you're ruining it. No, but it's just her first album came out years ago, and I was listening to it on the road. My friend was her drummer. I found out about her because my buddy was playing drums for her. And I loved her first album, and I would be on the bus, and I would get in my bunk, and it would just put me out. And then it's just worked ever since. And she has 3 albums that all have that effect. It's just but it's at this point, it's just purely Pavlovian. I'm on a plane. I'm in an uncomfortable seat. I put on these headphones. I hear that bass line, start that first song, and I'm out within 3 minutes.
Have you told her this?
No, we've only met. I can't say that we're friends. It just works for me. And then when I wake up, based on how far down the song list I am, I know exactly how long I've slept. It's great. It works for me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Some nights I can't sleep, and I think, I'll put that music on. It doesn't work at home. It doesn't work laying in bed.
Weird.
I wake up, I'm listening, and I'm like, no, this is supposed to help me sleep. Only on planes, only with the headphones.
Sleeping at home is a very different thing. I don't know if you're like me. I can fall asleep on planes, but only after I've had 6 beers. 6 very expensive beers at the bar.
No, I need what I need to fall asleep on a plane is that music on, and I just put the seatbelt on. As soon as I'm in my chair, I'm dozy.
Yeah, that usually does it. And there's something, and there's that buzz about the plane, although now I have my noise-canceling headphones. But you ever take off your noise-canceling headphones on an airplane and go, I didn't know planes were this loud. Not even just the people in them.
That's crazy.
But just the...
Yeah.
And you put your headphones back on, you're like, wow, that's tranquility right there.
Yeah, that's definitely happened. I had noise-canceling headphones, and like most things I care about, left them behind somewhere. I haven't seen them in months. And I went back to my old cheap ones. So have we got Nancy Grace on the phone? I'm so excited about this. Nancy Grace joins us on the KQ Morning Show. And I don't say this very often, a woman who needs no introduction. Good morning, Nancy.
Well, sometimes that can be a bad thing, but I'm going to take it in the light most favorable to the state.
You're not wearing an orange jumpsuit. You're not behind bars. It's just perfectly fine. So, I mean, it's not that kind of no introduction. Nancy, the explosion of true crime interest and the frenzy, we've been talking about this for the last few minutes. My wife listens to more podcasts than I could possibly keep up with. You were so far ahead of this curve. What was it about you you're a prosecutor, and then suddenly you recognized there's a niche, there's a need, there's a corner of the room I could get. What was that process? How did you go from the courtroom to discussing crime stories like this?
Well, to correct you, I did no such of a thing. This is what happened. I was in school at Mercer University, and I was studying Shakespearean English literature with the hopes of becoming a university-level professor.
Okay.
That's all I cared about. One day I came out of a statistics exam. I stopped halfway to my job in the library to call and tell them I was late. They told me to call my fiancé's sister. I did, and she was crying. And I knew at that moment that Key, my fiancé, was dead. He was murdered. I dropped out of school. I couldn't think. I couldn't eat. I lost down to 89 pounds. Somehow, the Lord saved me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the idea that I would never be happy in a classroom again. And I decided to go to law school. I applied to one law school. I had one reference, my Sunday school teacher. I got into Mercer University Law School. I somehow clawed my way into a job at the Fulton District Attorney's Office. After 10 years of nothing but felonies, my beloved district attorney announced he was retiring. I had an offer to go to Court TV and turned it down. Well, when Mr. Slate retired, I called them back and went, I'll take it.
Wow.
And I moved to New York, and that's what happened.
That is quite a tale.
Well, it happened again, if you must know. When I left HLN, I think after 11 or 12 years there, I was raising the twins. I didn't want to work at night. I wanted to work during the day so I could pick them up from school or at least be with them at supper time. I didn't know what I was going to do. I met up with my longtime friend in New York, Chris Balf. He said, hey, why don't you start a website and a podcast? And I started a podcast sitting on the floor in our ping pong room, which is a room with a ping pong table in it for the twins.
Sure.
You can hear my mom in the kitchen and the lawnmower outside, and that was the podcast. And somehow I landed in another pot of honey with iHeart.
Yeah. Wow. Well, but you know what? To those of us who've watched you for years, that's not surprising. It seems like, well, of course that'll work. You've seemed to have, you've had your, as they say, thumb on the pulse of this kind of thing for so long. When you look back now at several decades of this, is there a story, is there a crown jewel? Is there one you look back and say, yeah, we were a big part of finding justice in that case? I mean, you've got a bunch of those, but is there one that comes to mind first?
Well, I can tell you this much. I never look back. I follow the words of, I believe it was Will Rogers who says, keep your nose in the wind and your eye on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I look back, it takes away from this moment and this crime and what I can do to try to fix it. And I don't know if that's a result of trying to fix Keith's murder. I'm not a shrink. I'm just a JD trial lawyer. But right now, I am beside myself about the two Kansas moms that were carjacked and murdered and put in a pit, a 10-foot deep grave by who? According to prosecutors, the granny, the mother-in-law, who hated one of the women so much and wanted custody of the grandchildren so badly, she orchestrated a double murder, for Pete's sake. There's one case after the next. I'm drinking out of a fire hydrant because it's too much too fast, and I'm going as fast as I can. But when I look back, in answer to your question, I don't think, I can't take any credit for anything. Occasionally, very often, people see our program or hear our program, and we do end up finding missing people a lot. And I have been told on many, many, many occasions, ideas we have on our panels give prosecutors and cops ideas. They don't miss the show. And I'm very happy about that. One case that sticks out in my mind is an unsolved murder of a little boy, a little leaguer, Chucky Mauk, M-A-U-K, in Warner Robins, Georgia, who went to go buy candy at the local 7-Eleven, was approached by a white male in a sedan. I believe he tried to get the boy to get in the car. Chucky said no, and he shot the boy dead. I'm still trying to solve the case.
Nancy Grace is with us on the KQ Morning Show, the new podcast, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Like you said, you're drinking out of a fire hose. This is daily, a daily podcast. Some are 8 minutes, some are 30 minutes, but there is no shortage of stories out there that you're shining a light on. I'm just looking down the episode list. It is kind of astonishing. And to your point, I think one of the great values is you're not a cop. You're not in that room. You're not dealing with, people can be doing their best job and very diligent, but they also can miss some very obvious things. Like you said, you have examples of police officers saying, "Oh, we got an idea from your show." That is, it's got to be on some level rewarding for you. But you know what? I like that answer. You're just looking forward. There's no shortage of stories that need the illumination, and you're here to do it.
Stories is one way to put it. But these are real people.
Mm-hmm.
They're real suffering, and they need our help. And why state and federal governments sit on their thumb and don't allocate more money to solving crimes and putting bad guys behind bars and keeping them there, I don't know. I do not know the answer to that. I'd have to be a politician, and I think they're pretty much stinkers. So I don't want to go that far.
No.
But that said, I don't understand it. I don't understand how everything is upside down and our priorities are so backwards.
Nancy Grace, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace is the podcast. CrimeOnline.com is the digital platform that investigates breaking crime news, spreads awareness of missing people, and, of course, shines a light on cold cases. Nancy, there's got to be a hobby or two or an interest or two that are completely in another plane. Tell me when you aren't doing this. There's something. Is it pickleball? Is it backgammon? What gets your mind away from this?
Well, you'll never believe it, but I love to cook, and I cook for two very special food critics, my children, John, David, and Lucy. After Keith, my fiance, was murdered, I never thought that my dream of being a mother would come true. And then late in life, it did. They are now 16. They're driving. I'm a nervous wreck.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But my favorite thing of the day is A, when I see them in the morning, and B, when I make a big family meal, new every night. I don't give them leftovers. And we sit around the table and we talk about our day, and I get to watch them and listen to them and just drink them in. That is my joy in my life.
That works. That works for me.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Hey, Nancy, if I could ask a question about all of these stories. I'm on the iHeart on your podcast and scrolling through these. Like you said, both you and Steve referenced to the fire hydrant of stories pouring out and the crime in the country. How do you pick one? What needs to be present for you to say, this is the crime that I'm going to highlight today and talk about?
That is a great question, and I'll tell you how I do it. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I start looking. I go to so many websites, crime websites, breaking news. I go to sites that every 9 seconds they give me the latest crime, and that's across the world. When I first wake up, I'm getting crime out of India and the UK. And then by about 6 o'clock, I'm starting to get U.S. crime. And I look to see. I don't want a case where the perp's already caught and it's over, and there's nothing that I can help. If there's a trial going on, or we're looking for a perp, or building a case on a perp, or a missing child, a missing person, or some injustice as it strikes me, I send it. I'll send 10 or 15, 20 stories to our staff. They immediately start trying to reach police, family, witnesses. And what we can put together, that's what we go with.
Okay.
I remember a lot of people asked me about Top Mom, Casey Anthony, who killed her daughter, Kelly.
Yep.
This is what happened. That night, we were set at HLM to do a missing person story. On the way to the studio, I get a call, the person's been found. I'm like, oh, hell, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're an hour out. And I said, okay, quick. Tell me the top stories of the day. Well, what's happening? And we were on the phone in the car, and somebody said, oh, well, there's a missing 3-year-old out of Florida. I'm like, okay, what's happening with that? And I said, when did she go missing? And they went, a month ago. I'm like, well, why in the hell are you just telling me now? And they said the mother just reported it. And everything got quiet.
Yeah.
And I said, we're doing that tonight, 1 hour. Get it. And we started. And that was Top Mom, Casey Anthony. That's how it happened.
Wow.
It's sometimes a fluke.
Certainly is. The podcast, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, wherever you get podcasts. Nancy, it's a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for taking the time, and all the best always.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for inviting me, and God willing, we'll meet again.
See ya. That's a hell of a run right there for Nancy Grace, because I don't remember not having her around
My mom.
So what do they do with
her.
the leftovers then if she doesn't feed them to her kids? I hope they donate them.
That's for the dogs.
I listen to Nancy Grace, and, listen, I'm not making light of the work that she does because, like you said, Steve, to your point, she brings this stuff out into the public opinion, and police departments might pay a little more attention to it, and people are getting involved in making those calls. There is definitely a place for that. But why do I get a sense of televangelism every time I listen to her? And I'm not talking about the Christian angle. I'm just like,
no, it's just that
every day, everything is so precious and so.
Well, that's the Southern accent. It's just simply that.
Is that the Southern
that's
manner?
What it is. Yeah. It's just it's the Southern accent. Candace, you said your mom was a big Nancy Grace fan.
Yeah,
She is.
She's always on.
Yeah.
I remember the case, the John Bonet, that case with her the most. I feel like she covered that a lot.
Yeah.
That's what I like to remember.
Right. She certainly did.
Yeah.
Boy, that one still just gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
The last time I saw a documentary on the Jean Bonnet case, and the theory that it was actually the brother and the parents, the best case scenario for that is it's still just a crazy family situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that is that whole thing, man. That is like, it just goes to show you can be a brilliant business person and you can be smart at everything, but making a crime happen and not be, it's impossible to get away with stuff these days.
She was talking about the Kansas moms that were buried in that 10 feet deep hole.
I hadn't heard about that.
The mother-in-law. Nancy was talking about it a little bit there.
Yeah.
Referenced it. So I'm looking at the podcast at the story. Here's what I would say: that if you're going to bury a couple of bodies that you've just murdered out in a hole somewhere, perhaps the day before you do that, don't just rent a skid steer. Something that people don't normally rent, like a big, huge piece of equipment, and then ask the neighboring farmer if you can dig a hole in his pasture and just bury some old debris you've got laying around.
Yeah, probably.
And then murder two people and put it. You're leaving a trail. You see what you've done there?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
If you have the wherewithal to do all that, then how about the wherewithal to slowly, over, say, a few weeks' time, with a shovel, dig a huge hole where no one knows you're doing it?
It's really about patience, isn't it?
It really is.
Getting away with it.
Yeah. Successful crime is really all. Like I always say, the most successful criminals, you've never heard of them.
No, right.
Because they get away with it. If you've heard of a criminal, they didn't do their job.
You know how it ended. Yeah.
It's exactly how that goes. I am on the receiving end on a regular basis of text messages from both my kids, and they love to, they express themselves in blurps and burps, and I just I don't know what that means.
Emojis.
It took me forever to figure out what YOLO meant. For example, you only live once.
Okay, yeah, I have to. Yeah.
And now I'm getting diftp. Diftp.
I don't even know.
You got to be able to say it. It can't be
diftpa. Yeah, I'm happy to know that millennials are now already out of favor. It's all about the Gen Z logo. Let's see if any of us have any idea what these kids are talking about. That's coming up in a few minutes. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, May the 1st. It's a new beginning. It's the new month of May. It's the gateway to summer.
Yeah.
Time to shake off the winter blues. And look forward. And with that in mind, let's take a look at a few of the new terms you may be getting via text message from, if you have any millennials in your life, if you have any kids like I do, 23 and 21. I have already gotten a few of these, and I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And, of course, they roll their eyes and look at me and they go, "Oh, you're such a boomer," even though I'm really a Gen Z, but I'm from a boomer family, so I get both.
Yeah, you're a Gen Xer, by the way.
Sorry,
you're
Gen
a long
Xer.
way from the Gen Z, brother.
Sorry, buddy.
You see, your kids are Gen Z too. They're not millennials.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not. Yeah, I know. They're not. Whatever. You know what?
I'm a millennial, and I'm
like
a grown ass adult.
You sound like a boomer right now.
You do sound like a boomer right now. So wait, Gen Z is what I've got a couple of.
Yeah.
Candace, are you a millennial?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm a Gen Xer who was born to a boomer family. I'm on the cusp.
Yeah.
I'm a ex boomer cusp, or whatever it is. But like I texted my wife the other day, and I said, what I say to her often, which is Hlaglin, Hlygtlin.
You've been drinking again.
Hey, lady, you got the love I need. See, I took that from Robert Plant, Over the Hills and Far Away. Hey, lady, you got the love I need. That's Hlaglin. And so, that's really sweet. Isn't that adorbs?
Yeah.
No, I mentioned YOLO. I've gotten YOLO and then gone, what does that mean? And then years ago, you only live once. Okay, great. But now the new thing for YOLO is no longer YOLO. It's DIFTP. DIFT.
Yeah,
I don't think they say it. They just say DIFTP. Do you know what it means?
No, I don't. Don't.
It doesn't mean it's in place of you only live once. It's this. Do it for the plot. Meaning, hey, you're the main character in your life, man. So don't avoid stuff. Do whatever you got to do to move the story along.
Keep trying,
Hey, bruh, do it for the plot.
The bro, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. I mean, you're trying too hard. YOLO, you only live once. LOL, whatever. Some of these things work, but yeah, do it for the plot.
My daughter says bet all the time. Like, okay,
so
got it.
Brother-ish.
What's that?
My brother says bet because what is he, 20? How old am I? 20. He's 20. He's going to be 23, 22. He says bet all the time. And I did date a younger guy a couple years ago. And the minute he said bet, I was like, I can't do this, dude.
Yeah.
This is too weird.
Steve said adorbs earlier. I remember dating one. I'd got adorbs, and then the other one was that skeets or something. I can't even remember what it was. And I'm like, yeah, we've got a barrier here, and we've already done it, so I got to go.
LMFAO, LMAO, all those, when that first started years ago, I would look at that and go, Lamau?
Let me.
Lamau is what? It's,
F.
Laughing my ass off, laughing my effing ass off, whatever.
Right.
Now that's been replaced. It's IJBOL. Short for I just burst out laughing.
Oh, I did.
What?
I just IJBOL'd.
Ijbul. It's like one of the early Simpsons episodes. They're playing Scrabble, and Bart Simpson puts down a word, Quidjibo. I always remember that. So this is another one, too, ROFL, which means rolling on the floor laughing. I just came across that one recently for the first time, and I was like, I Googled it, and I was like, and the person who sent that to me, I contemplated blocking their number from my phone. It's like, just put a smiley face emoji, ROFL. But now the new thing, and this is true because, and again, my daughter has done this, and I look at it, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? She just sends a skull emoji, which says, that's so funny, I just died laughing.
All right. I see what you're doing there. Yeah. Just the skull, though. It's not a skull laughing, not an LOL with a skull.
I'm dead. That's so funny, I'm dead.
Okay, yeah. Well, all right. Thank God. What if she meant I'd poison myself, That would be a Mr. Yuck. Do they have that emoji? Yeah, but I certainly wouldn't have gone there with just the skull emoji. The skull's pretty universal. It can mean a lot of things, but just...
this one always bugged me. So we stopped calling people crazy. We just took the Z out and went, oh, they're cray.
Cray.
Yeah, cray. Okay, cray is longer than crazy. It's why remove this? Crazy works fine. Why change it? But now cray is over. Now we say delulu, DELULU, short for delusional.
I'm going home early.
Yeah, really. How about just?
Oh, okay, I got it.
Delulu.
Yeah, you've got to be Candace or somebody to pull that one off. I can't reasonably go, you are delulu.
Isn't that Beach Boys song? Delulu, my Lulu, who I want to see you. Shabingo, balingo. Yeah, I don't know. Things are no longer fire. Things are now lit again. Lit is back.
Okay.
Lit was good.
I like lit better than fire. I never liked fire. That's so fire.
You know what I can't stand is people who use the word rad. Oh, that is so rad. Why did that come back? It was dead and buried in the mid-'80s, and then it's back. Everything's rad.
That was immediately a joke in the 80s, too. I mean, you were immediately that guy if you used the word rad, but all right.
You know, I remember seeing Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 1982 when it first came out, and that's the first time I was aware of people using the word awesome. Like,
awesome.
Because Spicoli, awesome,
Yeah.
totally awesome. That's where that started, is in my universe anyway. Now, I mean, the word awesome already existed, but you didn't use it. No one used it. But that's where that started from. And rad, I associate rad with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but it's not. I don't think it's a part of that movie. I just lumped it in there for whatever reason. It's definitely California surfer lingo. Rad.
Awesome! Totally awesome!
That's it. That's right where that came from. So anyway, here's where all of these roads always lead with me, which is to remind you that my new definition of success, and it's been this for the last 5 years, will be the day that I throw my phone into the ocean and never retrieve it.
Oh, God.
So nobody can send me
Sick.
acronyms anymore. If you want to talk to me, call me on a landline. That's when I'm going to know I've made it.
Yeah, I've been so close. Instead, I've just made little, like I'll take Facebook and Instagram off my phone, which is kind of a big move. You don't realize that's where you spend most of your time on social media is your phone.
Mm-hmm.
When I took, in an act of defiance, I forget what it was, somebody probably criticized me or unfriended me, and I'm like, well, I'm taking it off my phone. I'm taking control of my life again. But that's a big deal, because once you take it off your phone, it is almost like throwing your phone away.
It doesn't, yeah.
But I've thought about that, because I think I did that back when phones came along. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be a slave to my phone. But make no mistake, this phone that I have with me, I'm just the flesh vessel that carries this around.
Of course.
Once this thing, I'll throw it into the ocean, and then I'll stand there for about an hour in just limbo and disbelief and confused, and then probably head straight to my closest T-Mobile store.
We were talking about, we spoke with Nancy Grace earlier on the show, real true crime maven that she is.
Yeah.
And my wife was telling me about, she was listening to this podcast she listens to called The Prosecutors, and she's been on these guys for a long time, but they were discussing a whole thing about phones and people that get caught up in crimes and they think they've destroyed all the evidence, but everything's in your phone. And it was a whole segment of the podcast where they're like, your phone is you. It's your life.
Yeah.
And to make a point, a woman said, by the way, she goes, every man I know, whether they know it or not, there's a dick pic in their phone somewhere. And I looked at her and I go, I said, I don't have that. There's absolutely not. She goes, no, think about it. Go through every text thread you've ever been on, your friends. Somebody sent you a funny meme. Somebody sent you a joke. It may not be like the kind of there. She goes, there is a picture of a man's junk somewhere in your phone. And I was like, oh wait. No, there absolutely is. In fact, I just got one during that eclipse. Someone sent me a video of an eclipse, but it was actually someone's testicles.
Yes, the ball
and I was
sack.
like, oh yeah, that's right. Once a week, someone sends me a link to something funny that involves the front office. I'm like, I probably got 36 of those in my phone somewhere. Like, they're not in my photos, but they're in a text thread or they're back in my Facebook Instant Messenger. Like, oh no,
that's just part of life. Do you ever think about this? Or like, what if I just instantly died right now? Just boom, just killed over, dead.
Yep.
And then you have the phone that you left behind. You didn't have a chance to delete anything on the phone. Now there's so many privacy features.
Yeah.
Now we have the facial recognition. We have private browser options. Anything on the phone that you think, oh God, I can't leave that behind. But what if I die suddenly? I took that and I went, well, I cannot live my vices and bad behavior out on the air. So I think I'm okay. But the more I think, something just popped into my head. I think
really?
I might have to I can't get that off my phone, can I?
When you die, I'm going to just try to rush to your family and try to sneakily try to get your phone. I'll pretend that I'm really concerned and say that there's something I have to see in there for work. And then I just want to know, what are you hiding?
I have over 1,500 pictures of you in here. You don't even know I'm taking them. I took 4 this morning.
I thought it was weird when I got here, 16 months ago, and I was like, man, Zep takes a lot of pictures of Candace. They've been working together a long time. I guess that's normal.
Sure.
I don't see her taking pictures of
Still trying to get a good one.
I don't see her taking pictures of him, though. I wonder if this doesn't seem like a two-way street. Interesting.
It'd be like, when you bust into the guy's apartment and you see pictures of yourself all over the place, cue the psycho music. Yeah, it would be like that if you get into my phone.
When I didn't get an email address until 2000, the year 2000, and I got it begrudgingly.
Do you still have that email address?
No, it was an AOL. I had 2 at AOL. I had Con Pops. My son's name was Connell.
Yes, I get it.
CONPOPS. Conpops at AOL. And then, because then I was like, but then there's people I'm emailing that's just for like band stuff. So then I had Gorman Drum at AOL.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had two. And then within a few weeks, I was like, well, whatever, it's all the same. I didn't even pay attention to which one I was logged into.
No one's looking at it.
It's all the same. So that was the summer of 2000. After my son was born, I was like, I guess I should have an email address now. So before that, I think me and Rosemary had a email address like for the two of us. Like we didn't get on the internet till 99.
Yeah.
And the first time we had a little laptop, we had a little Mac thing. And plugged into the phone, the phone cord and all that weird, the way you used to have to dial in AOL. And she brought it home. She was using it at work. I'm on the internet at work, and I'm like, I've heard about that. Literally late 90s.
What's it like?
I'm such a Luddite. I just come and drink beer. I don't need to know about the future.
I'm an artist.
I don't need to know about the future. That's what I pay people to do. It's just so ridiculous looking back. And the first day we're at our house in Atlanta, and she shows me, so you put this, you unplug the phone and plug it inside here, and then you hit this button, and then you hear this noise. Welcome, you've got mail. And I was like, holy crap,
Yeah.
AOL, there it is. I've heard about this. I know all about this. I've read about it, and blah, blah, blah. And so then I'm like, she's like, and then you go to these websites, and this is me. I'm like, does ESPN have a website? She's like, yeah, ESPN.com. And I'm like, oh my God, I can look at scores. There's articles here. I couldn't
Welcome
believe
to the
it.
dark side,
yeah,
man.
I was so excited. Within a few days, she's at work. I get up one morning. I'm sipping coffee, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to ESPN.com. I know how to use the internet now. And I go open the laptop, plug it in, and I'm on ESPN.com, and a pop-up ad shows up, and it was like, click here for the man who has everything. That's what it said. And I literally am like, I wonder what that is. I click on it. Page after page after page after page. Dozens of porn sites just start popping open. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
1, 2.
And I'm like, whoa,
Anything your little heart
stop.
desires.
And I was like, no. And I'm trying to close the pages.
Yeah.
And it was out there, man. I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
And I unplug, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, and I literally unplug the thing, and they're still opening. And I was like, it's the devil has gotten into the house. And I just closed the laptop, and I'm sitting there like, she's going to come home and see all these porn websites.
Right.
I literally didn't even know those were. All I knew was ESPN.com.
This is a whole new side to you. How exciting!
I called her at work, and I'm like, hey, this internet thing. I'm like, I just clicked on a
I gotta
link.
head this thing off at the pass.
I was like, what? I think I broke the computer. I don't think we can get online anymore. It's very, very, very.
You ever hear that old Bo Burnham? Did a stand-up comedy special, Bo Burnham, on the internet. He got his start as a artist on the internet. A kid sitting in his bedroom just putting up YouTube videos.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Now he's a big star. Wrote a song about the internet.
All right, so Theater of the Mind,
Yes.
Tales from the Darkness, Ghosts, UFOs, Aliens, Monsters, and Other Strange Stories of the Supernatural. That is the name of a new book from Dave Schrader. He brings receipts, he freaks us out, and we'll be talking with him in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Happy May 1st, one and all. Oh, summer's right around the corner. I'm very excited about that. Something else that's kind of cool right now, a new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness, Ghosts, UFOs, Aliens, Monsters, and Other Strange Stories of the Supernatural. Dave Schrader, author of that book, and a man who's been on this show many times, a man who we know from all sorts of things, TV shows, podcasts, et cetera, the guy who looks into all the stuff we're afraid of. Dave, good morning, sir. Welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Happy Halloween, Steve.
I like that.
Midway point between now and Halloween. So I'm trying to reinvigorate the light and love for all the people that are just wanting Halloween to be back again. So,
perfect. Thank you for that. So, okay, I'm reading the title of this book, Ghosts, UFOs, Aliens, Monsters is the word that jumps out to me. Monsters. Dave, what sort of monsters are we talking about?
Well, in the book, I cover a story from Ireland. One of my listeners shared with me with a changeling. We have the Bloody Bones Man. We also have black-eyed kid encounters. So there's 3 different kind of really bizarre and kind of terrifying creatures that have been witnessed throughout history and in many different states and countries around the world. So I've included stories from many of my different listeners over the years. 2 of the stories are mine. One is a haunted doll and a story about being in a haunted hospital where I was having my gallbladder removed here in Minnesota. But the monster portions, thankfully, I have not yet run into the black-eyed kids, a changeling, or
Wait,
the
should
bloody
have followed me around in grade school. I had a black eye constantly.
Yeah, the black-eyed kid sounds like a great up-and-coming punk band. What exactly are we talking about here?
Well, with the black-eyed kids, it's a really creepy phenomena, and I got a great story from Minnesota. This one isn't in the book, but I'll be happy to share it. I got this years ago when I was doing my live show, Darkness Radio, and a listener, an elderly couple, they used to check out the show. I was on from 10 to midnight at that time, and she'd say we'd watch the news at 9, turn it off, go to bed at 10. She goes, this one night we turn it off, it's raining outside, we can hear kids playing outside, and my husband's all kind of bothered. He's looking out the blinds. What the hell are kids doing out at this time of night? And she said, honey, it's been raining on and off for 2 weeks here in Minnesota. The kids probably just had to go out and burn off some energy. They're driving the parents crazy. So with that, they go to bed. She wakes up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and there, standing by the bed, are 3 children. There's 2 boys, and in the middle, a girl with long braids.
Okay.
And she goes, Dave, I'm a good listener. I know about that hypnagogic and hypnopompic states. Those are the moments going in and out of sleep when reality and dreams can kind of meld together and appear to be real. So she closes her eyes, and she takes a couple of deep cleansing breaths, knowing that when she opens her eyes, they'll be gone. It was just part of her falling asleep. And she opens her eyes, and they're still standing there. And she starts to open her mouth to scream and reach for her husband. And the little girl steps forward and presses her finger to her lips and says, shh,
oh boy,
we just want to look at you.
Oh, no.
She screams. He jumps up. On go the lights. They check the entire house. There's no children to be found. They left every light in the house burning. Got back in bed. He was the big spoon, she was the little spoon, and they waited all night to see if these things would return to their room.
I said, hotel.
Makes him sound like he's a hero, but those of us men know it was simply we wanted her in the position to shove at them so he could get out the window. We know that that's what was really going to happen.
Yeah, perhaps. Now, listen, were there stories of kids that had gone missing from years before? Were these a group of kids, something tragically happened to them, a house fire perhaps? Do we know who these kids might have been?
Where these beings come from, and at first, this started to sound alarmingly like an urban legend. However, I started getting stories from people around the globe, and a lot of them were coming to me from military personnel that were serving in Afghanistan and Iraq. A lot of times these kids would show up prior to attacks. They weren't strapped with a bomb or anything horrific. It was just like they would show up and why are these children here? And they couldn't, but the kids had completely black eyes, not just the color of their eyes being black, but the entire sclera would be jet black. And oftentimes they want to get into your home, so they'll ring the doorbell, knock, and it's like the demonic or vampire tradition of they need to be invited in. So they'll ask, can we come in? We need to use the phone. Usually one kid does the talking while the other 2 kids stand there silently. And sometimes there's a smell associated with them, like rotting or decaying meat. Most people that encounter these beings talk about this sense of overwhelming fear, and then they're like, why am I frightened? They're just children. And that's when they notice the jet black eyes. But like I said, I've heard it from people around the planet now and many different generations. So it kind of goes beyond just being an urban legend and seems to be leaning a lot more into some kind of strange phenomena.
Dave Schrader's with us on the KQ Morning Show doing what he does, which is freaking us all out.
Right.
The new book, Theater of the Mind, it's available on Amazon. Tales from the Darkness. Okay. I want to, before we move on, the Irish changelings. What's that? What's going on? I know about the banshee is legend. That's an Irish legend, wailing like a banshee. Someone who basically, I believe, lets you know death is imminent. What's the changeling scene in Ireland right now?
Well, with the banshee, real quickly, if you hear the banshee's cry, somebody you know will die. If you see the banshee, you'll be the next to die. So that's kind of the local legend that surrounds that. And it really is only centered around three families throughout Ireland, but they're big families. With the changeling, the concept is that fairies would oftentimes replace your child with a fey child, and the kid would be a little off. It would be
maybe in a better way. It could be an upgrade.
Could be in some sense, but what had happened was this one boy had gone missing in the village, and they found him days later. But he was completely fresh looking, didn't look like he'd been not eating or drinking. The kid had no concept of where he had been for those 3 days, and he had just kind of re-entered into their social setting, but they said that he was off. He was a lot more cold and distant. And one of the times the guy was playing with them, they were out doing like hide and seek or something, and they couldn't find the kid. He ran around the corner, and the kid's feasting on a rabbit that he had caught, and looked up at him, and he said, my blood ran cold. He went and talked to his grandmother about what was going on, and she's the one that warned him off. She said, he's a changeling. He went missing for all those days. This isn't your friend anymore. This is something else. And as funny as that sounds to us, that who would believe these kind of stories, you have to realize that there are a lot of cultures still that believe very strongly in the Fae community. And in Iceland, just I think like 10 years ago, they had to reroute an entire road because it was going to cross either like a fairy mound or a troll hill. And they didn't want to upset those beings. So they were trying to figure out how to reroute this highway. And it's just a matter of fact to them that these beings exist and that these stories exist. But the story of changelings are pretty terrifying when you consider what happens, and that that our children have entered the fairy realm and they've replaced them with these creepy alternatives that are just close enough to human but off.
That usually happens right about 13 or 14. They change them out, I think, that behavior. I think that's why the light rail, that one light rail didn't get finished here. There's a troll mound out there they're trying to work their way around. But you're right. These things are happening today. They're embedded into these cultures. And you don't even have to be a hardcore believer. You can just be, hey, listen, why tempt it? Why go there? Why not just play it safe? And
I've been to Ireland 3 times, and on the first trip, we were visiting one of the castles. And when we were walking through the field, fairies leapt up. Guys, I'm not joking you. These look like Tinkerbell fairies. And I followed one till it landed on a wall. It's an insect, but I could see where the fairy legends came from, because when they jump up with the sunlight behind them, they look like little people that are flying in front of your face, and it's astounding. As a matter of fact, there's a professor who has written all about this, and if you go online and look up, just look up like keywords like Professor Fairies Ireland, you'll see these pictures, and you'll see what I mean. They look like what you would consider Tinkerbell to be. But when I followed it over to the wall and took a picture, the guide came over and he goes, "What's that you have?" And I said, those fairy things jumped up, and I followed one over here to the wall to take a picture, and he goes, "What did you get a picture of?" And I said, "Well, this huge bug." And he said, "Or that's what they want you to see." And I go, what do you mean that's what they want me to see? I just followed it to this wall. And he goes, "No, what you saw is exactly what you saw. Those are the Fae." He said, "But they can turn into rabbits, birds, and insects when we try to approach them so that we don't see them." And it was and again, just so matter of fact. And again, I couldn't tell if he was pulling the American's leg or if he firmly believed this, but talking to some of the elderly people there in town and showing them the pictures, they knew exactly, and they were like, I hope you didn't mess with them. Did you kill it? And I'm like, no. They're like, all right, you're probably going to be safe then.
Every time I go to Ireland, people bring me these glasses with this mysterious black liquid in it, and then I see all kinds of crazy stuff. I never quite got to the bottom of that one. Dave Schrader's with us on the KQ Morning Show. Okay, so we've talked about some changelings. We've talked about the black-eyed kids. What's going on? What's the latest in the Yeti, Bigfoot, abominable snowman realm? Because I still see people out there in the mountains. They are still looking for Bigfoot. Is there any new information on whether or not anybody's actually ever going to find one of these guys?
It's pretty remarkable. The TV show Expedition Bigfoot takes the show and the concept a lot more serious. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Maria Mayer, who is a primatologist and is not willing to just jump into the idea that, yes, Bigfoot exists, but they have done some pretty amazing explorations on the TV series, and she admitted fully to me, Dave, we found stuff we cannot explain. It is stuff that should not be where it is, nests that they find that are like gorilla-style nests, and homing areas. She is slowly becoming a believer that this is more than just, people's imaginations. And listen, if you're still interested in the concept of Bigfoot being real, the best piece of footage that exists is the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. And the reason I say it's the best piece is because through the years, they have stabilized the film, they have cleared the film, and you would think that it would fall apart, and you would see just how fake this costume looks. And the more they've been able to stabilizing it using new technology and clarify it, it's actually becoming even more prevalent that this is a real creature. You can see the calf muscles move, so if it was a costume, you wouldn't see that. You can see different aspects of the creature. So I love the fact that that piece existed and was so easily debunked back in the day, but as science continues to look at it and technology advances, all it's doing is cementing the fact that, oh my God, we actually caught a photograph or a video of a Sasquatch. And there are just too many people from too many walks of life that have seen this creature and believe it to be real. Plus, it's been part of Native American lore and indigenous peoples for centuries.
Yeah, I'm not here to, I'm a little bit skeptical when it comes to these things, but I think about that 1967 shot, and then I think about the number of trail cameras hunters have put out in the United States. In Minnesota alone, there must be 50,000 of them out there, and I wonder how anything can move out there without us detecting it, but there are vast swaths of wilderness, millions of square acres. You
also have to realize it's blanketing an area in IR light. And if a creature, like they believe most animals can see in the IR spectrum, if you're a creature walking and you see an entire lit up area, you're probably going to avoid that.
Yeah, I suppose. And we know that wildlife in the mountains in particular, in these remote areas, gets pushed further and further because they're going to keep a certain amount of distance from humans. We make a lot of noise and we have guns and stuff and we shoot and all that good stuff. I'm wondering, though, with technology and now with AI and some of these things happening, is technology getting to a point where, and I'm going to sound silly and stupid here and make a Ghostbusters reference. I'm not talking about, some nuclear reactor on our backs and we get the streams going and capture a ghost. But aren't we to the point now where we must have such sophisticated gadgetry and technology that we can really finally, I want some real proof, man.
Well, again, it's what are you going to consider real proof? I did a TV series called The Holzer Files. We captured, in my opinion, 3 of the best video elements of a ghost, but people want to summarily dismiss it because it's a TV show. It's for entertainment purposes, so they don't want to take a chance that this might be real. It was very real. We were the ones that the crew, myself and Shane Pittman and Cindy, were the ones in control of the audio and video. None of us have the ability to add special effects. All we did was review the pieces that we captured, and what you saw on the show is exactly what we caught in the moment. So it has happened, but people tend to walk away or not notice if it's not what they want it to be. There's a great scene in a stupid old fun Steve Martin movie called The Man with Two Brains, right?
Love it.
Where the whole concept is his wife is passed. He's about to maybe marry Kathleen Turner, and she's this money-grubbing woman. And he goes and he stands before this portrait of his wife, and he says, "Darling, I think I found someone else, and if you could just give me a sign."
Give me a sign. It's a great
her
scene.
picture starts to spin, and you hear, "No, no," and and wind is blowing and books are flying off the shelves, and it gets done, and he looks at the picture and he takes it off the wall and he goes, "Until you're willing to give me that sign, I'm just going to put you in the closet."
That's right.
And that's what I think happens is people have things happen all the time, but if it just doesn't, if they can't process it, it's easier to push it away than it is to just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, have you ever had a spirit like come home with you after being with them in a certain space?
I'm not a medium. I don't know. I can't be like, oh, there's Candace, the ghost of KQ. And then know that's where I picked her up. I don't have that ability, but I have gone to haunted locations and then things happen at home. What it could be as well, though, is like if you take a paper clip on its own, it's not magnetized. But if I take a big magnet and I rub it against that paper clip and then take the paper clip over to other paper clips, I could daisy chain 2 or 3 of them. So I kind of think that if you're in a haunted location and there is an electromagnetic aspect to this, which we believe EMF, the electromagnetic force of a location, might be different, then I leave and go home. Am I just attracting the spirits that are around me? Like my neighbor who passed away, did his spirit come over because he saw me? Or at the airport, a spirit could sense that I was, connected at that moment. So it's hard for me to say, but it usually dissipates relatively quickly. I've only had a few instances where I've been unnerved enough to have to call in some big guns to help me out with that. Lorraine Warren and John Zaffis, and said, "Hey, what do I do about this?" And they've given me some sound advice.
Dave Schrader's with us on the KQ Morning Show. The new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness, Ghosts, UFOs, Aliens, Monsters, and Other Strange Stories of the Supernatural. Dave, you obviously investigate a lot of claims and cases. Along the way, surely you've gotten to some where you realized, oh, this is a crock. This is BS. This is someone's just creating something. No? I mean, that's happened, yeah?
Right. I was actually a location scout for the TV show Ghost Adventures for 5 years. And there was a case I covered on my radio show, and this guy sounded like he had the new Amityville. There was so much crazy activity going on. And Zach said, "Hey, I really want a haunted house. Can we find something that," and I told him about this, and we went out. I said, "Man, this is either going to be a real Amityville horror type haunting or a complete and utter scam." We didn't even get a dust orb in that episode. Nothing happened to us. And everything this guy had happened off screen. So he'd be playing his loud video games and he'd hear a crash and he'd turn his camera to look and you'd see a candle fly across the room. But he never turned towards where the candle came from. So we investigated, we found absolutely no proof of anything paranormal happening there. Now, it could be said that the paranormal doesn't just play by our rules and doesn't show up when we want it to. However, there were strange things like he had a 666 and these strange hanging man designs that had been painted in his one room. And he came home one day to find all these things. And he said, I don't even have black paint in the house. And he wasn't lying because later we found the can in the garage. But I also thought it was interesting because the demon used sponge painting technique for these. So he was an interior
That's
decorative.
a contemporary demon, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's where those decorators are getting their cues from, clearly. All right.
Exactly, yeah.
Dave Schrader, the book Theater of the Mind. It's available on Amazon. It is always a pleasure, sir. And you are welcome anytime, especially, as you said, we're halfway to Halloween. This fall, we'll have to get you back on for sure, and we'll freak everybody out all over again. Thank you, man.
I'd love that. Thank you. And check out my podcast, The Paranormal 60, wherever you listen to podcasts, and get the book. And if you buy it on Amazon, please rate and review it if you like it.
There you have it. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Man, The Paranormal 60.
Oh.
Yeah, Candace, you got excited at the mention of Bigfoot's calf muscle.
No, yeah, I'm a calf girl.
You are a calf girl.
That's hairy.
Wait, is he referencing just that one famous grainy, long arm droop, the Bigfoot looking over his shoulder? That one shot we've all seen a million times.
One shot we've all seen a million times, and someone's come around. They debunked it. I think they zoomed in and did a high resolution imagery of it and found a zipper or something like that. And I'm not even kidding around. They found a zipper, but he said now that there's some new information and it may be real. But to his point, that's the point I was getting to, and you and I talked about it a little bit off the air. All right, so we captured a video image of Bigfoot in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. Now, what we were talking about earlier, everybody is walking around with a high-resolution camera. Yeah. Everyone. There are 8 billion high-resolution cameras on the planet, not to mention everyone I know, a hunter anyway, has hung about 20 or 30 of these things around their property.
Yep.
And you would think that we'd have at least one more picture by now.
The Patterson-Gimlin film, that's what it's called. You can Google it. It's right on YouTube. It pops up. The film Stabilized. This is from 1967. Okay, I'm watching it now for the first time, Stabilized. This is going to sound, you're going to think I'm kidding. I think that's actually D.B. Cooper.
They found him. He let himself go.
D.B. Cooper is Bigfoot.
He let himself go. Not only that, but he probably had to kill a bear out there, like Jedediah Smith or something, and make a big coat for himself. Yeah, it's chilly up there in the Northwest.
Sure is. That $200 grand's only going to go so far. How many fires can you set with all that cash you made off with? All right, let's look back. On this day in 2004. Barry Bonds of the San Francisco Giants in a 9-inning game was intentionally walked 4 times. He was jacked on steroids. We all know that. But the steroids don't make you that good of a hitter. Barry Bonds.
You weren't taking a chance back then, man.
Boy, Barry Bonds. I mean, the guy. There was a time in 2003 when he was intentionally walked with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, give him 1 run. We don't want to give him 2 or 3. You can say what you want about Bonds, and I've been ripping on him for years, but my God, that man could hit a baseball.
They might beat us today, boys, but Barry Bonds isn't going to beat us.
That's exactly it.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.